Good evening, everyone. I'm Pat Nolan, your announcer for this program. Tonight, the 15th Metropolitan Council holds its 43rd business meeting of a four-year term. This is the 13th council meeting of 2021. This is also the first council meeting of the new 2022 fiscal year. The council passed a new operating budget and a property tax rate at its last meeting on June 15th. That tax rate might still be subject to change as the Metro Election Commission has appealed to the Tennessee Supreme Court in an effort to hold a referendum to roll back the 2020 tax increase. And if the court agrees and the voters do as well, the change could cost the city rolling back to another tax rate of some $40 million in revenue. Tonight, the council's agenda is 41 pages long, including a total of 117 pieces of legislation. That includes 31 bills on public hearing, most of them land use zoning changes. There are also 26 resolutions, 37 first reading bills, 7 second reading measures, and 13 third and final reading ordinances. There are 4 appointments or reappointments on city boards and commissions before the council tonight. 3 concern the city's airport authority. The others is for a month-long vacant seat on the Metro Fair Board. The appointment has been controversial as the council wants more diversity there. In particular, a Hispanic member added. Latest nominee from Vice Mayor Jim Schulman is Ms. Tracy Harden. Ms. Harden is a very successful African-American businesswoman who the Vice Mayor believes is well qualified and will bring diversity to an otherwise all-male and white fair board. The council members who are part of the minority caucus here in the council disagree and are poised perhaps to oppose and stop the Harden nomination night, much as the council did earlier African-American nominees submitted by the Vice Mayor. Because of all the controversy, it's believed this will be deferred tonight, try to work something out about an appointee over the next 2 weeks. By the way, board appointments are usually the domain of the mayor. Mayor Cooper's had a similar problem with filling this particular board seat. This time, it's time for the mayor to act on this had expired under the charter, so therefore this leaves the nomination again to Vice Mayor Schulman. Otherwise, the most impactful piece of legislation on tonight's agenda is budget-related. It is BL 2021-781. It's on third reading. It would address a growing problem for cities across the country. It involves the city's unfunded other post-employee benefits liability. That's OPEM. OPEM pertains to benefits an employee receives upon retirement, such as health, dental, or drug coverage. The bill on third reading tonight will require a group Medicare Advantage plan will be the only option for Metro retirees' medical benefits when the pensioner or other dependents become Medicare eligible. That change is expected to reduce Metro's ongoing OPEB liability by $1.1 billion and would save Metro approximately $17 million per year in the current operating budget for the medical plans. Under Resolution BL 2021-1022, the city would accept a $2.3 million grant from the Tennessee Emergency Management Agency tonight. The funds would provide reimbursement for the costs incurred for the severe storms, tornadoes, straight-line winds, and flooding back on March 3rd, 2020. Previously, the city had received about $7.1 million in disaster funds, bringing the total amount of monies received for the costs involved in the March 2020 bad weather to $7.1 million. Metro will have to match those funds with just over $1 million in local monies. Resolution 2021-1030 would approve a new solid waste plan for Nashville as required by state law. The Nashville plan has a goal of achieving zero waste over the next 30 years. State law requires at least a 25% reduction over 10 years. A major component of that plan would be a save-as-you-go collection process or several other very expensive things that might also be involved in this in the long term. It appears the council will defer this matter by 3 meetings tonight to have some joint meetings down the road between the Budget and Finance and the Public Works Committee to figure out what the council wants to do about this plan. They're going to approve something, but at this point we don't know exactly how it's going to look like, and the council will be meeting about that in the weeks to come. Resolution 2021-1035 encourages alternatives to evictions as federal funding is available for rent relief for tenants whose incomes have been affected by the COVID-19 pandemic. The issue has been in part red tape and federal regulations involved that have slowed that process through the Metro Action Commission, and that may impact some of the debate tonight as well. One final memorializing resolution tonight is RS 2021-1036. It honors the memory of the late Jimmy Allen Ruth, a Tennessean who took great personal risk as a bus driver for the famed Freedom Riders back in the early 1960s during the Civil Rights Movement. On third reading, Bill BL 2021-782 would eliminate the supervision fee for probation services provided by the General Sessions Court. This fee was established back in 1991 at a rate of $20 per month. It was increased to $25 in 2006 and $35 in 2008. A 2020 fee study prepared by Metro recommended the council eliminate this fee to ease the financial burden on criminal defendants, many of whom lack the ability to pay such probation fees. This ordinance is a companion to resolutions RS 2021-988 and 989, which was approved last month by the council, which eliminated the indigent defense fee and the courthouse security litigation tax, also recommended in that same fee study. Finally, on third reading tonight, BL 2021-725 will be considered again. This ordinance would require 20% of the Barnes Fund for Affordable Housing grants to be set aside for small nonprofit groups. Some council members feel these smaller groups have been left out in the funding in the past. These small affordable housing nonprofit organizations must have an annual operating budget of no more than $4 million and a housing budget of no more than $1 million. Not all council members like this new requirement. Remember, it takes 21 yes votes for a bill to pass on third and final reading. If you want to follow tonight's council meeting as it progresses, you can find the agenda online. Just go to the Metro Council portion of the Nashville.gov website, then to the Legislative Information Center. We'll also be placing the bill numbers on the screen when they come up for consideration so you can follow along and keep up with where we are on the meeting agenda. Let's now go to Vice Mayor Jim Shulman. He'll gavel tonight's meeting to order shortly.
Ready? Will the meeting please come to order? We welcome you to the Metro Council. Today is Tuesday, July 6, 2021. Will all members of the council, as well as the public, please rise for the invocation, remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance. The invocation this evening will be offered by Reverend Alicia Haddock, the guest of Councilmember Sharon Hurt. Reverend Haddock is from the Christian Journey Fellowship Church.
Right. Let us bow our heads. God of truth, justice, love, and light, we humbly come before you with grateful hearts this evening, thanking you for your loving kindness and tender mercies. Despite ourselves and our shortcomings, it was in your will for us to come together today, and for that, we say thank you. You are a wise and omniscient God. Therefore, we ask that you come into this place and guide this meeting. Guide our minds, hearts, and tongues. Help us to know what matters most as we care for the people of our great city. Help us to understand that you have the ultimate and final decision. And as we make decisions that affect the masses, help us to know right from wrong and choose to do what is right. Give us the knowledge and confidence to stand when everyone else is sitting, and give us the strength to kneel when everyone else is standing. Loving God, help us to remember the families across this city, state, and country who grieve their loved ones and who seek justice where it is hard to find. We know you are the God of justice, but let it be found in this place. And let all our hearts be bound together as we all work towards an equitable and just city and society. As it was you, O God, who have called us to this work. Keep our city officials and those who you have chosen to lead us in the palm of your hand. And we will be mindful to give you the praise and the glory forever. We thank you and bless your name. And everyone said, amen.
Thank you. Well said. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. You may be seated. Without objection, we will suspend the call and the roll and ask the clerk to record the names of those members present throughout the meeting. Is there a motion for adoption of the minutes of the meeting from June 15th, 2021? Heard a motion properly seconded. Without objection, the minutes of the meeting will stand approved as written. Madam Clerk, are there any messages from the mayor? Sorry, I didn't hit your button fast enough. No messages from the mayor, correct? Okay. A couple of items. You should have gotten an email from me this morning. Our own Chief of Staff, Roseanne Hayes, is recovering from a heart attack that she had this morning. I talked to Rosie just a little while ago, wished her a speedy recovery. She is resting. She sounds tired, but in good spirits. She knows that everybody's thinking about her. I think they're going to monitor her for through the night, and we'll see where that goes. But I asked her if I could tell you all that she actually did have a heart attack. It was mild, but she had a heart attack. But hopefully everything's going to be okay, and she will have a very, very speedy recovery. I did talk to Councilmember Glover yesterday. He is recovering nicely at home, also some from health issues regarding his heart. I think the best I can say is everybody understand sometimes this job we can take ourselves too seriously and it can be too stressful, and I think we all understand that. Your health and your well-being is very important, and you all need to be careful. I think I remember when I used to work for the state legislature and they had the income tax debate that was up. I think Councilmember Murphy may remember that. Councilmember Roten may remember that. That was a pretty strenuous time for those members, and a number of them went to the hospital. Let's just remember that we'll figure out a way to get through all this stuff, and we'll try to lower the stress level. We really do wish Rosie a very speedy recovery. The same thing for Councilmember Glover. Councilmember Glover did remind me when I was talking to him that his birthday was on July 4th. I think he is 30 years old, at least that's what he told me. I also understand that Councilmember Roberts' birthday is today. I believe she got some flowers in the back. And Councilmember Sepulveda's birthday is tomorrow, so happy birthday. A couple of other things. Obviously, to my right is Hannah Zeitlin, who is our acting legal counsel and director of the Metro Council. I know she has been staying up very late at night, peppering herself with questions that might be coming from you. All right, so I think she's ready. And a shout out, I know you all do step in sometimes as chairman of committees, but our own Delicia Porterfield stepped in as budget chair today because our current chair is out. So congratulations, Councilmember Porterfield. I heard it went very, very well. Councilmember Hurt, I recognize you for what purpose?
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. I just wanted to share with my colleagues and those of you who attended, who prayed, who stood with me over the past year as I led the charge to change the name of Hadley Park. And today, the Parks Board voted to change the name to Hadley Lillard in honor of Kwame Lillard, a former council member here. I did want to just read something from the board chair. She shared her comments because I was late getting to the Parks Board meeting because I was talking to Dr. Kwame at Fisk University and told him that we would use proceeds from this year's Jazz and Blues Festival for the Jubilee Singers because they have had some struggles with their tours and all because of COVID. So, and he brought me to tears, and then getting to that meeting, it did again. But the board chair made the comments that she's a native Nashvilleian and she grew up in Hadley Park, but she was personally aware of the work of Kwame Lillard. And she said that Kwame talked about generations before him fought for our freedoms, and today we continue to fight for those same freedoms. And in the community engagement exercise, we learned quite a bit. The vote coming down between generations. In my comments today, I talked about everything must change. Nothing stays the same. The young gets old and mysteries unfold. And that's exactly what happened, but everything must change. She said, "We are fighting today for our history to continue to be told." Mr. Little's contributions to this city and our people need to be celebrated. Perhaps in Hadley Park, perhaps not. But I know this for certain. We cannot continue as we have to leave and implant the struggle for equity and truth to the next generation. Begin to change the story. And that is something that I would like to leave with my colleagues. We have that charge every day that we reach out to our constituencies, but even more so when we come here on this chamber floor. Let's begin to change the story. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Hurd. Well said. So I do want to recognize that Mr. Wally Dietz is sitting here. He's the new Metro Legal Director. So this is, Mr. Dietz, welcome. This is your first official meeting. And Mr. Crumbo is standing there. Mr. Crumbo, make sure that Mr. Dietz does not leave during the meeting, okay? Just to stay for the whole thing. I believe that's everything I've got. Now ready to proceed to elections and confirmations. Councilmember Johnston, you are recognized for a report from elections and confirmations.
Thank you. Elections and confirmations considered several appointments for the Airport Authority, the appointment of Mr. Andrew Bird, for a term expiring April 5th, 2025, the reappointment of Mr. Jimmy Granberry for a term expiring April 5, 2025, and, as well as the reappointment of Mr. Robert Jocelyn for a term expiring April 5, 2025. They were all on consent. We voted 10 in favor, 0 against, and I would move their approval.
Okay, so there's a motion to move for approval. Mr. Andrew Bird for appointment, reappointment of Mr. Jimmy Granberry and Mr. Robert Jocelyn, Bobby Jocelyn. Got a proper motion, proper second. Any discussion? Seeing none, ready to vote. All those in favor of those appointments and reappointments say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. The motion passes. Councilmember Johnston, you're recognized.
We had one more appointment that we did not hear. She was not present. I moved for a deferral that was voted 9 in favor, or 10 in favor, 0 against for that deferral for one meeting.
Okay, so deferral for one meeting on Ms. Tracy Harden for the Fair Commissioners Board.
I move that deferral.
So move for one meeting deferral, properly seconded. All in favor say aye. Opposed, no. The deferral is granted for one meeting. So we do have, she tried to call you a doctor, but it's Mr. Andrew Bird. I think we need to be careful with that. Mr. Jimmy Granberry and Mr. Bobby Jocelyn, if you all will stand, please, and be recognized. So on behalf of the entire Metro Council, we thank you for your willingness to serve and volunteer your time and expertise to help Nashville and Davidson County. You all are welcome to stay for the rest of the meeting, but the calendar is 41 pages long, okay? All right, so we are now ready for resolutions and bills on public hearing. I know we've got 3 resolutions on public hearing and then a number of bills on public hearing. So the way this works for people in the audience, I will call up the resolutions and bills one at a time and then refer to the sponsor. Unless the sponsor moves to defer the public hearing, sponsor will call for a public hearing and then ask for a show of hands for those who are here in favor of the resolution or the bill. Then I'll ask for a show of hands for those who are here in opposition to the resolution or the bill. If anyone in favor of the measure wishes to speak, I will ask you to come forward, find the microphone, which is back here in the back, introduce yourself, give us your address, and then you'll have 2 minutes in which to speak. Then ask to do the same thing for those in opposition. After that process, when we go through a public hearing, I will then close the public hearing and then refer back to the sponsor. Again, we'll call the resolutions and bills up one at a time, and we are going to start with resolutions on public hearing. So here's the first one. It is RS 2021-1009. If you've got a calendar, it is the first one up on the calendar tonight. It's by Councilmember Benedict. It's a resolution exempting Bite-A-Bit Thai Sushi located at 1402 McGavick Pike from the minimum distance requirements for obtaining a beer permit pursuant to the Metropolitan Code. Councilmember Benedict, you are recognized.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. May I please have committee reports?
You certainly can. I think it's Mr. Rosenberg. Councilmember Rosenberg, you're recognized for public safety.
Thank you, Mr. President. Public safety voted 6 in favor, none against.
All right, thank you. And back to Councilmember Benedict.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. I'd like to open the public hearing, please.
Okay, I declare the public hearing open. A show of hands of those who are here in support of this resolution. A show of hands of those who are here in opposition to this resolution. Don't see anybody one way or the other. Declare the public hearing closed. Councilmember Benedict, you're recognized.
I move approval.
So Councilmember Benedict has moved approval on RS 2021-1009, properly seconded. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of the resolution say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Resolution is adopted. Thank you, Councilmember Benedict. Item number 2, RS 2021-1010 by Councilmember Murphy. This is a resolution exempting Lola, located at 4401 Murphy Road, from the minimum distance requirements for obtaining a beer permit pursuant to the Metropolitan Code. Councilmember Murphy, you're recognized.
Thank you. Committee reports, please.
All right, Councilmember Rosenberg, Public Safety.
Thank you, Mr. President. Public safety voted 6 in favor, none against.
All right, back to you, Councilmember Murphy.
Thank you. I'd like to open the public hearing.
Okay, declare the public hearing open. A show of hands of those who are here in favor of the resolution. I see a hand in the back. A show of hands of those who are here in opposition to the resolution. Seeing none, would you like to speak? Doesn't want to speak. Declare the public hearing closed. Councilmember Murphy, you're recognized.
With that, I renew my motion for approval.
Councilmember Murphy has renewed her motion for approval, properly seconded. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of the resolution say aye. Opposed, no. Resolution is adopted. Last one on resolutions on public hearing is RS 2021-1011 by Councilmember Cash, resolution exempting Buttermilk Ranch, located at 2407 12th Avenue South, from the minimum distance requirements for obtaining a beer permit pursuant to the Metropolitan Code. Councilmember Cash, you're recognized.
Committee reports, please.
Councilmember Rosenberg, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. President. Public safety voted 6 in favor, none against.
All right, Councilmember Cash, you're recognized.
I'd like to open the public hearing.
Okay, declare the public hearing open. A show of hands of those who are here in favor of the resolution. Show of hands of those who are here in opposition to the resolution. Councilmember Cash, I don't see anybody. See any hands? Okay, declare the public hearing closed. Councilmember Cash, you're recognized.
I'd like to move approval.
Councilmember Cash has moved approval, properly seconded. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of RS 2021-1011 for passage say aye. Opposed, no. Resolution passes. Thank you, Councilmember Cash.
Thank you.
That completes the resolutions on public hearing. We're now on page 3 of the agenda. We're now on bills on public hearing. This is item number 4 on your calendar. The first one up is BL 2020-479 by Councilmember O'Connell and Murphy. This is an ordinance to amend Title 17 of the Metropolitan Code by changing from MUN, MUNA, MULA, MUG, OR20, CS, and CF to MUNNS, MUNANS, MULANS, MUGNS, OR20NS, CSNS, and CFNS. Zoning for various properties located between Rosa Parks Boulevard and 2nd Avenue North, from Hume Street south to Jefferson Street, and located within the Germantown Historic Preservation District overlay. You know, I have to do this again. You're going to sing this, okay? All right, Councilmember O'Connell, you are recognized.
Thank you, Mr. President. With any luck, you won't have to do it again until September. I'd like to move to defer to the public hearing in September with a brief comment.
All right, so the motion is, for those listening at home and in the back, this is to put off the public hearing. This is going to be moved to the first meeting in September. That's a proper motion, proper second. Back to you, Councilmember O'Connell.
Thank you, Mr. President. Actually, I think we could probably take this and 504 together if you think it's reasonable, because that is, the bills kind of move in tandem.
Any objection? Seeing none, without objection, BL 2020-504, also by Councilmember O'Connell. Ordinance amending Chapter 17.36 and 17.40 of the Metropolitan Code pertaining to creating an owner-occupied short-term rental overlay district. Councilmember O'Connell, you're recognized on both those bills.
Thank you, Mr. President. We had a working group within the community that has come up with a potential alternative approach that I'm hoping we'll have a draft for by the filing deadline this Friday, and just want to give that some time to have that draft percolate in the community and see if that might be an approach that garners a bit more consensus. So we're gonna kick the public hearing till September to see if we can get some more buy-in around a different approach, but appreciate colleague support for the deferral, and we'll see if we even need the discussion by September.
Okay, so the motion is to, on BL 2020-479 and BL 2020-504, is to defer both those measures to the first meeting in September. Proper second. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of the deferral motion say aye. Opposed, no. Deferral motion passes. Thank you, Councilmember O'Connell. We are now on item number 6. This is by Councilmember Murphy, Allen, O'Connell, and Bradford. It's BL 2021-621. It's an ordinance amending section 17.40.720 and 17.40.730 of the Metropolitan Code zoning regulations to require additional public notice regarding applications for permits from the Historic Zoning Commission. Councilmember Murphy, you are recognized.
I would like to move to defer this to the first meeting in September.
All right, so the request is to defer to also to the first meeting in September. That's a proper second.
I'm sorry, let me take that back. Can we amend this first, and then I'd like to make my motion?
Okay.
If you could call on Council Lady Allen.
So unless there's objection, we'll call the motion back. So we're on BL 2021-621. For those listening at home or in the back, no public hearing tonight. Councilmember Allen, I'm going to go to you, recognize you.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Chair. I'd like to move a substitute, please, with a brief explanation.
All right, so Councilmember Allen has a substitute on this measure. The purpose is to move the substitute, properly seconded. Back to you.
Thank you. Just there was a meeting much earlier in the year among folks who represent historic districts to talk about what notification we're hearing from our constituents would be helpful to them, just to make sure that they're aware when something is going before the council. And so I appreciate Councilmember Murphy getting this on the radar, and the substitute would simply incorporate some of the suggestions that came out of that meeting, which would be to shorten the notification time from 21 to 11 days, simply because of the necessity of, that's just how it works with the historic calendar. Am I on the right bill?
Yeah,
when I do that. Okay, good.
We're just checking to make sure. Councilmember Murphy, this is a acceptable substitute in
Yes, this is a friendly amendment.
friendly amendment.
Thank
That's
you.
what we were looking
Okay,
for.
thanks. I could see concern. Okay, it does that. It changes the length. It also makes a specific threshold for which this would be necessary, and puts in some different qualifications for the mailings. We may work on this further, but just wanted to get the results of that meeting on the books before this goes to the Planning Commission for discussion there, so that they'll be talking about kind of the latest and greatest version of where we are, and we can continue to work on it if we need to from there.
Okay, so Councilmember Murphy has moved the substitute. Again, it's been properly seconded. Discussion on the substitute. Councilmember Cash, you're recognized.
Thank you, Chair. I just have a question about the meaning of adjacent. I just want to make sure I understand. So if it's like across an alley, would that be adjacent?
Councilmember Allen, or I'm going to go to Ms.
Yeah,
Zeitlin.
I think that's a technical term that is defined somewhere in the code, and I would defer to the technical term.
I guess what I want to know is what, beyond next door neighbors, who would get notification of this?
It includes neighbors that would be across the street and across an alley.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Councilmember Cash. Councilmember Allen, we're still on your substitute.
That's correct. And I would say if we need to discuss how far that goes, I know Councilmember Murphy may want that to be farther. We can work on that based on the Planning Commission discussion. but currently it's just adjacent, which is similar to what is required for setback determinations at the Historic Commission currently, so.
Okay, so we have a motion to approve the substitute, properly seconded. Councilmember Syracuse, you're recognized.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Just a technical question for clerk or council staff. I don't see this substitute listed in the documents section of the system.
It's in the packet.
It's in the amendments packet. If
Can
there's-
these be added to the documents section of the system?
Oh, so it's in my packet, so are you saying that it's not actually listed on the?
Your computer system?
I can get the paper, that's fine, but I'm just
Yeah.
asking, you know, in the future, these nice new shiny machines that we have, can we get the documents right there for us?
All right, so I'm the least technical person in this room, so. All right, so the answer right now is no, but we're going to see if we can get that done for you, okay? And the best I can do is say that I printed it out on a piece of paper so I could actually see it, all right? Thank you, Councilmember Syracuse. All right. Anybody else wishing to be heard on the substitute? All right, we're voting on the substitute. This is Councilmember Allen's substitute. Again, it was proper motion, proper second. All in favor of the substitute, say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Substitute is adopted. So now we're on BL 2021-621 as substituted. Councilmember Murphy, you're recognized.
Thank you. And let me back up. I do need to apologize. I probably should have said in the beginning that this is a piece of legislation that we had a community meeting, or we had a council group meeting on. I think that was in January. It was originally scheduled for like December, but it was like the night before my hip surgery. So I appreciate y'all's patience with me on this one. And I also appreciate my fellow council members helping me draft this up. But to Councilman Cash's point, this is our first draft of it, and I appreciate Council Lady Allen putting it together. But I do think that we have some more work to do, and I still want to reach out to our neighborhood leaders on it. So this is getting closer to where we're working on, but this really, I appreciate this being a group effort on drafting all this and putting it together, because I think it affects all of us that have historic overlays. So with that, I renew my motion to defer to the first meeting in September.
Okay, so the motion at this point is to defer BL 2021-621 as substituted to the first meeting in September. Proper motion. It's been properly seconded. Councilmember Allen, you're still listed. Do you want to speak? Okay. All right. Anybody else on the deferral motion? Seeing none, we're voting on a deferral motion to the first meeting in September, BL 2021-621 as substituted. All those in favor of the deferral motion say aye. Opposed, no. Deferral motion passes. All right, we're on item number 7, BL 2021-705 by Councilmember Stiles. This is an ordinance to amend Title 17 of Metropolitan Code by canceling a plan unit development overlay district for various parcels located north of the CSX Railroad on either side of Bell Road, approximately 900 feet southwest of Hickory Hollow Terrace. Zone MUL, SCR, and R10, partially located within a corridor design overlay district. It's 159.02 acres. Councilmember Stiles, you're recognized.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. I actually have a substitute that I'd like to
Okay,
pass
so
first.
the question is, do you want to have your public hearing first? You would have that first before you put the substitute on.
Okay, yes.
All right, so Councilmember Stiles has called for a public hearing on this bill. I declare the public hearing open. Show of hands of those who are here in favor of this measure. Okay. Show of hands of those who are here in opposition to this measure. Those in favor wish to speak? Nope. Declare the public hearing closed. Councilmember Stiles, you're recognized on your bill.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. So the substitute actually changes the size of the PUD cancellation from the 159.02 acres to 39 acres instead. So it's only 7 parcels be canceled.
Is that a question or?
Not a question, just a statement, just explaining what the substitute was.
Okay, so so you need to move the substitute.
I'd like to move the substitute.
Okay, so a proper motion. Councilmember Stiles has moved the substitute, properly seconded. She's explained the substitute. Anything back to you, Councilmember Stiles?
No, that's all, sir.
Okay, so it's the motion before us is to approve the substitute on BL 2021-705. Any questions from anybody? Seeing none, we're ready to vote on the substitute. All those in favor of the substitute say aye. Opposed, no. Substitute is passed. Councilmember Stiles, you're back on your bill as substituted.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. I would like to move for approval, please.
Okay, so BL 2021-705, Councilmember Stiles has moved for approval on that bill as substituted, properly seconded. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of BL 2021-705 as substituted, say aye. Opposed, no. BL 2021-705 as substituted passes on second reading. We're on BL 2021-716 by Councilmember Taylor. This is an ordinance to amend Title 17 of the Metropolitan Code by changing a specific plan on property located at 401 Clay Street, approximately 310 feet southwest of 3rd Avenue North, to add a .87 acre parcel to the existing SP to allow for a parking lot. Councilmember Taylor, you are recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Vice President. I'd like to open the public hearing.
All right, so to declare the public hearing open, show of hands of those who are here in favor of this measure. I see one hand. Okay, I see two hands. All right, show of hands of those who are here in opposition to this measure. See nobody here in opposition. Those in favor wish to speak. This is your chance to be on television. Seeing nobody coming forward, I declare the public hearing closed. Councilmember Taylor, you're recognized on your bill.
Thank you. I'd like to move for approval with a brief comment.
Brief explanation. Okay, BL 2021-716, Councilmember Taylor has moved for approval on second reading. Properly seconded. Back to you.
Colleagues, thank you so much. This has been on the second reading public hearing for quite some time now, and we finally got the notices sent out, so I appreciate the property owners for that. So thank you so much, guys. I'd like to renew my motion for approval.
Okay, so again, the motion is to approve BL 2021-716, properly moved, properly seconded. Any discussion on the bill? Seeing none, we're voting it on second reading. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, no. Bill passes on second reading. We're on page 6 of my agenda. It's BL 2021-721. It's item number 9. Councilmember Porterfield, Murphy, Syracuse, and Bradford. It's an ordinance amending section 17.08.030 and 17.16.050 of the Metropolitan Code to remove the alternative financial services used from the ON office neighborhood, CN commercial neighborhood, CNA commercial neighborhood alternative, CNNS commercial neighborhood no STRP, and CNANS commercial neighborhood alternative no STRP zoning districts. Councilmember Porterfield, you're recognized.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. I would like to open the public hearing, please.
Okay, declare the public hearing open. A show of hands of those who are here in favor of the measure. Show of hands of those who are here in opposition to the measure. Councilmember Porterfield, I saw hands, no hands going up. Declare the public hearing closed. Councilmember Porterfield, you're on your bill.
Move for approval, please.
So I got a motion to approve on second reading, properly seconded. Any discussion? Seeing none, we're ready to vote. All those in favor of BL 2021-721 on second reading, say aye. Opposed, no. You adopt. Thank you, Councilmember Porterfield. The next one is BL 2021-722 by Councilmember Hall, Murphy, and Bradford. It's an ordinance amending section 17.40.060 of the code to allow only district members of the Metropolitan Council to initiate applications to amend the official zoning map of property owned by the Metropolitan Government and amending section 2.24.190 of the Metropolitan Code to require the Director of Public Property Administration to provide a monthly property inventory report to the Metropolitan Council. Councilmember Hall, you are recognized.
Thank you, Chair. I'd like to defer this one meeting, please, to track with planning.
Okay, so it needs to be deferred, actually two meetings, back to it'll go to the first meeting in August.
Sorry.
Okay? So the motion is to defer this one to the first meeting in August, properly seconded. Any discussion on the measure? Seeing none, we're on a deferral motion. This is, again, just to defer to the first meeting in August, BL 2021-722. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, no. The measure is deferred to the first meeting in August. Okay. Item number 11, BL 2021-726 by Councilmember Glover and Swope. Ordinance to amend Title 17 of the Metropolitan Code of Laws pertaining to LED message boards and digital display signs. Councilmember Swope, you are recognized.
Thank you, Your Honor.
We would like to defer this until the first meeting in September.
Okay, so this is moved to the first, deferred to the first meeting in September. Properly seconded. Discussion on the deferral motion. Seeing none, we're ready to vote. Deferral motion is on BL 2021-726, first meeting in September. All those in favor of the deferral motion say aye. Opposed, no. The deferral motion passes. Item number 12, BL 2021-735 by Councilmember O'Connell. This is a disapproved bill. An ordinance to amend Title 17 of the Metropolitan Code by amending a specific planned district on property located at 50 Music Square West at the southeast corner of Chet Atkins Place and Music Square West to add multifamily residential as a permitted use in addition to the uses already permitted by the SP. Councilmember O'Connell, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to, first of all, I'm excited to be on television. Second of all, I'd like to move deferral for, or sorry, no, I'll move approval and offer a brief comment.
Okay, so we need to see the slides, right? And we also have to have the public hearing. All right, so you plan to move ahead
That's right,
tonight?
yes.
Okay.
We'll do a public hearing and then we'll get to
Okay,
the bill.
so I'm going to refer to planning for an explanation because it's a disapproved. Ms. Milligan, you're recognized.
Okay.
On? You're on. I don't know. It sounds like the microphones are a
No,
little.
I was waiting for the slides to pop up, so.
Oh. Well, while we're waiting for the slides to pop up, if the camera would focus on Councilmember O'Connell so he could be on television more, that would be good. Okay. Okay, Ms. Milligan, I see a slide up there. Let's
Yes,
make sure
that's
this
the
is right.
correct
That's
one.
it.
Yes.
All right.
This is a request to amend an SP located at 50 Music Square West. The request is to amend the 50 Music Square specific plan to add residential as a permitted use. The Planning Commission recommendation was to disapprove. Here's another shot showing the location of the building. You can see a yellow arrow pointing to the building. It's located on the west side of Chet Atkins Place. This is the approved site plan. The proposal made no changes to the approved site plan. It simply made modifications to the uses that were permitted. As approved, the SP was approved to allow for a 200-room hotel and 6,270 square feet of restaurant use. The proposal was to add multifamily residential up to 132 units to the list of permitted uses. This property is located in an area of the Green Hills Midtown Community Plan, and the land use policy is district office concentration. It is also a part of the Music Row Plan, which was adopted by the Planning Commission in the not too distant past. This is part of Subdistrict 2A. Subdistrict 2A is within the Music Row core, and it was intended to have a variety of music-related office uses, especially Class A office. Ground floor retail is also encouraged. This SP was approved in advance of the Music Row Plan, but considering that the amendment was after the passage, staff and the Planning Commission reviewed it in consideration with the adopted Music Row Plan. The adopted Music Row Plan does not have residential as a supported use within this district. It encouraged the use of office as a principal use, and residential was not included in this subdistrict. There were subdistricts of the Music Row Plan that indicated residential as being an appropriate use, but this is not one of those areas. Therefore, the Planning Commission recommended disapproval.
All right, thank you, Ms. Milligan. Councilmember O'Connell, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to open the public hearing.
Okay, so I declare the public hearing open. A show of hands of those who are here in favor of this measure. Okay. Show of hands of those who are here in opposition to this measure. Don't see anybody in opposition. Those in favor wish to speak? All right, so you're going to give Councilmember O'Connell all the television time. Declare the public hearing closed. Councilmember O'Connell, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. President. Many of you will be aware that Music Row has basically been a topic of discussion for not just much of this term, but last term as well. Councilmember Sledge, Councilmember Syracuse, Councilmember Allen, Mayor Cooper, when he was on council, all participated to some degree in an area that was a focus of study on Music Row. Ultimately, this led to a Music Row vision plan and the passage of some policy. We are still in the home stretch of completing what I hope becomes a Music Row code, similar in nature with obviously some substantial differences to the downtown code. A lot of that was prompted by something that happened before most of us took office, where the Planning Commission actually went on an 18-month pause on rezoning specific to Music Row, in part over concern with residential projects that lacked interactive streetscapes in an area where we still wanted to have some intentionality around the policy. At that time, a Music Row Neighborhood Association was formed. There was also the Music Industry Coalition. There was a ton of work with stakeholders up and down the row, property owners, residents, businesses, folks from the music industry, planning staff, a huge array of people participate in these discussions. Ultimately, where we got to was that for much of that study area, there were some restrictions on residential. This project was actually approved by the same group that is pursuing this with the intent to build a hotel here, which fell under the policy. Then COVID happened, and financing for hospitality became incredibly difficult. At the end of this, if this SP is approved by council, I fully expect that within a few years' time, the building that gets built there will house a hotel and will not be out of violation of the original underlying policy. If it does get built as residential, I expect it will include affordable housing as part of the uses. You can see from the lack of opposition tonight that the applicants did their homework, and I would encourage council to approve this. You all know that I do not bring a lot of disapproved bills, and I try to bring only those that apply to extenuating circumstances. In this case, the intersection of COVID and hospitality creates that circumstance, and I would encourage approval and renew my motion. Thank you, Mr. President.
All right, thank you. Councilmember O'Connell, again, the motion is to approve on second reading, Bill 2021-735. It's been properly seconded. Any discussion? Seeing none, we're ready to vote. All those in favor of 2021-735 on second reading say aye. Opposed, no. The bill is adopted on second reading. We're on item number 13, Bill 2021-751 by Councilmember Young. Ordinance to amend Title 17 by change from RS10 and R10 to RM4 zoning for properties located at People's Court. I like that, People's Court. People's Court unnumbered and Liberty Lane unnumbered at the southern terminus of Heathcote Court is 55.28 acres. Councilmember Young, you're recognized.
People in Liberty. Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor.
That's right.
Move to defer to the August public hearing, please.
Okay, so this is deferred to the first meeting in August. Properly seconded. Any discussion? Seeing none, we're deferring this to the first meeting in August. All those in favor of the deferral say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Deferral motion passes. We're on item number 14, Bill 2021-763 by Councilmember Sledge. This is an ordinance to amend Title 17 by changing from IWD to MULANS zoning for property located at 609 Merritt Avenue. It's approximately 200 feet west of Martin Street. It's .40 acres. Councilmember Sledge, you're recognized.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. I request to open the public hearing.
Okay, public hearing is open. All show of hands of those who are here in favor of the measure. Show of hands of those who are here in opposition to the measure. Seeing nobody either way, declare the public hearing closed. Councilmember Sledge, you're recognized.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Move approval.
The motion is to approve, properly seconded. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of Bill 2021-763 on second reading say aye. Opposed, no. The bill passes on second reading. Bill 2021-764, this is item number 15 by Councilmember Van Rees. Ordinance to amend Title 17 of the Metropolitan Code by changing from OG to MUGA zoning for properties located at 607 West Due West Avenue and Lentz Drive unnumbered at the southwest corner of West Due West Avenue and Briarville Road and partially located within a planned unit development overlay district. Councilmember Van Rees, you are recognized.
Open the public hearing, please.
Okay, declare the public hearing open. A show of hands of those who are here in favor of this measure. I see one hand. A show of those who are here in opposition to this measure. Don't see anybody in opposition. Those in favor wish to speak? Nope, we're good to go. Public hearing closed. Councilmember Van Rees, you're recognized.
Yes, can we take 764 and 765 together?
Well, I guess because we just had the public hearing, well,
Because the other one was
we
sort
want
of,
to just keep it separate.
or is it, sorry, one's a cancellation of a PUD. and one's a-
Just keep them separate. Yeah, it is the same property.
We can, I don't-
We're moving, so
the-
let's just keep on
the
going.
intent was to take up less time, not more.
Okay,
So,
all right.
move
Now
approval,
let's talk
please.
about this for, you want to talk about it for a couple minutes? Okay. All right, so we're on 764, and I remember we had the public hearing, that's over with. What do you want to do on this one?
Move approval.
Okay, the bill, so the motion is to approve 2021-764 on second reading, properly seconded. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of 764 on second reading, say aye. Opposed, no. Bill passes on second reading. Now we're on Bill 2021-765, also by Councilmember Van Rees. Councilmember Van Rees, I assume you want to have the public hearing on this one?
I would love to have a public hearing on this.
All right, declare the public hearing open. A show of hands of those who are in favor of this one. That same guy didn't even hold his hand up this time. There he is. Okay. A show of hands of those who are here in opposition to this one. Yeah, still nobody. Declare the public hearing. Oh, I'm sorry. Did you want to talk on this one? Okay.
No.
Declare the public hearing closed. Councilmember Van Rees, you're recognized.
It's not even his property.
Oh.
With that, I move approval, please.
The motion is to approve on second reading 765, properly seconded. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of 765 on second reading say aye. Opposed, no. Bill passes on second reading. Item number 17, Councilmember Porterfield. This is BL 2021-766. Ordinance to amend Title 17 by change from AR2A to SP zoning on property located at 3156 Anderson Road. Permit 22 multifamily residential units. Councilmember Porterfield, you're recognized.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. I move to defer 2 months to the first meeting in September.
Okay, so this one is going to be deferred to the first meeting in September. Okay, that's the motion to defer, properly seconded. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of the deferral motion say aye. Opposed, no. The bill is deferred to the first meeting in September. Thank you, Councilmember Porterfield. Bill 2021-767, item number 18 by Councilmember O'Connell. Ordinance to amend Title 17 by applying a historic landmark overlay district to properties located at 606 and 700 8th Avenue South. Councilmember O'Connell, you are recognized.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to open the public hearing, please.
Okay, declare the public hearing open. Show of hands of those who are here in favor of 767. Got a hand up in the front. Show of hands of those who are here in opposition to 767. Seeing nobody, those in favor wish to speak? All right, declare the public hearing closed. Councilmember O'Connell, you are recognized on 2021-767.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to move approval of the brief explanation.
All right, the motion is to approve properly seconded. Back to you.
Thank you. We've seen a few like this. You'll notice this is applying a historic landmark overlay district to properties on 8th Avenue South. This is going to allow us to preserve the Voorhees building, which some of you might know on the way out of downtown heading southbound on 8th Avenue South. Great old building there, and this applicant is pursuing a redevelopment project that will preserve that building, and excited for this one to move forward. So renew my motion. Thank you, Mr. President.
All right, so the motion is to approve 2021-767 on second reading, again properly seconded. Nobody in the queue, we're ready to vote. All those in favor of 767 say aye. Opposed, no. 767 passes on second reading. BL 2021-768, this is item number 19. This is Councilmember Bradford. Ordinance to amend Title 17 by changing from RS10 to SP zoning for properties located at 3128 Elm Hill Pike and Elm Hill Pike unnumbered, permit 38 multifamily residential units. Councilmember Bradford, you're recognized.
I ask to open the public hearing.
Okay, declare the public hearing open. Show of hands of those who are here in favor of 2021-768. All right, a show of hands of those who are here in opposition to 768. All right, seeing nobody here on either side, declare the public hearing closed. Councilmember Bradford, you're recognized.
I would like to move for passage with a brief comment.
All right, so the motion is to approve 768 on second reading, properly seconded. Back to you, Councilmember Bradford.
So this piece of property, if you were around last term, you probably heard about it. I know Councilmember Mendez helped out on a previous development on this property. This is completely separate from that, but I bring that up to explain how different this process was from before. We've been working with the developer and the community since November of 2019 to work on this SP to get it to where both the developer and the community are both on board with it and are okay with the how it looks and how it's going to be built. So with that, I want to thank both the community and the developer for their willingness to work together to get an end product that is suitable for both parties. And with that, I move for approval.
All right, so Councilmember Bradford has moved for approval of 2021-768, properly seconded. Any discussion? Seeing none, we're ready to vote. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, no. 768 passes on second reading. We're on item number 20 by Councilmember Sledge, BL 2021-769. Ordinance to amend Title 17 by change from IWD to MULANS zoning for properties located at 510 Interstate Boulevard South and 341 Heron Drive. Councilmember Sledge, you're recognized.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Move to open the public hearing, please.
Okay, declare the public hearing open. Show of hands of those who are here in favor of 769. See a couple of hands up. Show of hands of those who are here in opposition to 769. Seeing nobody in opposition, those in favor wish to speak. All right, declare the public hearing closed. Councilmember Sledge, you're on your bill.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Move approval.
Got a motion to approve, properly seconded. Any discussion? Seeing none, we're on 2021-769 for passes on second reading. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, no. Bill passes. Bill 2021-770 by Councilmember Van Rees. This is an ordinance to amend Title 17 by amending a specific plan for property located at 555 Creative Way to add .33 acres for a total of 4.71 acres, permit a mixed-use development. I think you named this street.
I did.
Councilmember Van Rees, you're recognized.
I did indeed. I have a amendment to this. Do I move this now?
I think
or
we'll
after?
wait and do
Okay,
the
cool.
public hearing
We'll
first
go
and
ahead
then come back.
Open the public hearing, please.
Okay, declare the public hearing open. A show of hands of those who are here in favor of this measure. Got a couple of hands there. A show of hands of those who are in opposition to this measure. All right, those in favor wish to speak? All right, we have a speaker. All right, welcome to the Metro Council. I'll need your name, address, and then you'll have 2 minutes in which to speak.
Thank you. My name is Barbara Walton. I am at 604 Creative Way. And I would just like to know what is going next door to me. I haven't any idea of the buildings that are coming in there. So I would just like to know and get a little more information about the area and the price. Because someone had told me that they were going to be low income, and they told me they were going to be $880,000. And I said, $180,000 is not low income for Nashville, because Nashville doesn't. They have a little more expense than that. So I would just like to know some information about the area. I live there, and I'm probably the only house left there. My husband and I built it in 2002, and I would love to stay there because that is my home. I'm 75 years old. I don't mind telling my age. I love my area. I love where I am. My husband was raised in that area, and he built the home for me, and he passed away in 2018, and I would just love to stay there. But I would like to know what's going in around me.
Okay. All right, so Thank you for being here. So this is not like, we don't answer questions here, we just let you speak. But I believe Councilmember Van Rees, as soon as we close that public hearing, is going to explain to you what's going on, okay? So thank you for being here, we appreciate it. Anybody else wishing to speak on this one? Okay, declare the public hearing closed. Councilmember Van Rees, you're recognized.
Thank you very much, Ms. Walton. If you will stick around, I'm going to run out there and let you know what's going on. There's a lot happening on a creative way, and we want to make sure that you hear all about it. And I'm sorry that you've missed the meetings leading up to it. But with that, I'd like to move approval for this.
All right, so Councilmember Van Rees, you have a substitute on this one.
I do. Now, may I please apply the substitute?
Now you may apply for the
That'd be
substitute.
fantastic. I would
Okay.
like to apply the substitute with a brief exclamation.
All right, so there's a motion to approve the substitute. We're on 2021-770. Ms. Walton, what we're doing is we're just getting the bill in the right form. That's what's happening. So Councilmember Van Rees has moved the substitute, properly seconded. Back to you for an explanation of the substitute.
Yes, this is what's been called Phase 3 of the Creative Way Village, which started with the brownstone apartments along Inspiration Boulevard and Creative Way, continued in Phase 2 with the apartments that will serve as a dormitory for the Nosy College of Art. Phase 3 on the corner there has to do with bringing a restaurant, a boutique hotel of just, I believe, 8 or 10 units above a retail location. And so this was approved in community meetings. I will absolutely talk to Ms. Walton about it. But the substitute has to do with clarification in regard to height restrictions and sidewalk requirements.
Okay, so Councilmember Van Rees has moved the substitute, again, properly seconded. Questions on the substitute? All right, we're ready to vote on the substitute. All those in favor of the substitute say aye. Opposed, no. Substitute is on the bill. Councilmember Van Rees, you're back on your bill as substitute.
I would like to move the bill as substituted on second reading.
All right, so Councilmember Van Rees has moved BL 2021-770 as substituted for passage on second reading. Ms. Walton, we passed these bills on 3 readings, so this is the second one, okay? So it's not passing fully tonight, it's just on second reading. Councilmember Van Rees, again, has moved for passage. Any discussion on the bill? All right, seeing none, we're ready to vote. We're on BL 2021-770 as substituted on second reading. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, no. The bill passes on second reading. Councilmember Van Rees, where do you want to meet with Miss? Are you just going to go in the back? Okay. Yeah, I was going to tell her to go outside, but I think you're good. All right? All right, so it passes. Item number 22, BL 2021-771 by Councilmember Syracuse. This is an ordinance to amend Title 17 by changing from RS10 to SP zoning for property located at 200 Craig Mead Drive to permit 6,000 square feet of office space. Councilmember Syracuse, you're recognized.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Committee reports, please.
I don't think we have any committee reports. I think we're ready for public hearing.
Let's just open up the public hearing then.
Let's open it up. We're on BL 2021-771. Show of hands of those who are here in favor of this measure. I see one hand. Show of hands of those who are here in opposition to this measure. Don't see anybody in opposition. The individual wish to speak on this one? Nope. Declare the public hearing closed. Councilmember Syracuse, you're on the bill.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Move approval.
2021-771 for passage on second reading, properly seconded. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, no. Bill passes on second reading. We're on BL 2021-772 by Councilmember Young. This is an ordinance to amend Title 17 of the Metropolitan Code of Laws by changing from CS RS20 and R10 to SP zoning for properties located at 320 Kinnair Drive, 110 1 Mile Parkway, and Gallatin Pike, unnumbered, permit 396 multifamily residential units. Councilmember Young, you are recognized.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Let's open the public hearing, please.
We're going to open that public hearing. Declare it open. All those in favor of this measure, please raise your hand. See a bunch of hands in the back. Thank you. A show of hands of those who are in opposition to this measure. Okay, I got people on both sides. All right, so anybody in favor wish to speak? If you would, please come up and line up. I need your name, address, and you'll have 2 minutes in which to speak. And you typically hear a little buzzer when the 2 minutes are up, and then I'll remind you. Okay, so again, name, address, and 2 minutes in which to speak. And these are people in favor of this measure. Ma'am, proceed ahead.
Good evening. My name is Mary McGowan. I'm at 214 Oceanside Drive in Nashville. I am with Kimley Horn, the applicant on this one. So I'll just kind of give you a brief overview of kind of where we are in the process. We are rezoning with an SP with a maximum of 396 multifamily residential units. The current land use policy is in support of this. We're not proposing any change in the policy itself. It's intended to act as a transition from Gallatin Pike to the residential that's surrounding it. So again, not changing the policy that's on it, just strictly changing to an SP. One thing that people are always concerned about is traffic, and so we did do a traffic study regarding it. And basically, based on what's currently allowed with the commercial on site, we are downzoning it from a traffic perspective. So we're reducing what's allowed by the current zoning to what we're proposing by almost 13,000 daily trips. So pretty significant from that perspective. We've done several proposed mitigations with our traffic study, with some signage, some striping, some widening, all new sidewalk, all new curb and gutter around all three sides of the property, and then also some signal timing at the signal at Gallatin Pike and 1 Mile Parkway. And so that signal timing actually brings it to better conditions than what is out there today with the added trips. Another thing that people will probably ask about is just construction traffic. We are limiting with our earthwork to balance the site so that we don't have haul off, and obviously we'll be filing with the allowed timing for construction. So I'll stop before you have to cut me off.
Thank you very much. Next speaker. And council members, are you all having trouble hearing? You all okay? Okay. So if you don't mind, if you could get a little closer to the microphone, or you can pick it up. I think we're just having a little trouble hearing on this one. Okay? You recognize name, address, and you got 2 minutes.
Sure. This is Matthew Evans. My address is 1033 Demumbrian Street here in Nashville. I'm with the applicant, Graystar. In addition to what Mary said, we have had meetings with the neighborhood. So in March, we discussed a number of issues with 15 or 20 neighbors that were concerned about the project. We've done a lot to alleviate those concerns. So we swapped out townhomes that were previously on the site plan for a tree preservation. We've also included a 1.3 acre park that will be deeded over to Metro, and that's actually part of the preliminary SP requirement now. So we believe that'll be a great benefit to the community. We're working with the Parks Board to design that and turn it over to Metro. We've also removed a curb cut on Apple Valley, which was one of the neighborhood concerns, that there would be traffic exiting up on Apple Valley. Again, we closed off that curb cut and are keeping the tree preservation in that area. I think there are also some concerns from the neighbors about blasting. We'll do pre-blast surveys if if blasting is required. We don't anticipate any blasting if that does come up. And then there were some concerns about detention ponds on site. We're going to be very careful to make sure that there's permanent fencing around any kind of detention or retention pond on the site. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Next speaker, name, address, and then you have 2 minutes in which to speak.
Michael Dunn, 1412 Lillian. I'm here with CB Richard Ellis. It's my belief that the property's current use of just raw land right now is not the highest and best use for this neighborhood. I think this proposed development transitions well from Gallatin into the neighborhood, and with it being anchored by a Lowe's and a railroad track, it's not too disruptive. They've done a good process, and I'm supportive of the project.
Okay. Thank you very much. Next speaker, name, address, 2 minutes in which to speak.
Hello, I'm Rusty Dunn. My address is 1809 Gallatin Road.
I think this is a nice project, most needed in the area, and I'm in favor of it.
All right. Thank you for being here. And next speaker, name, address, 2 minutes.
Bob McAdams, 925 Myatt Drive, Madison. I'm in favor of this project.
All right. Thank you, Mr. McAdams. All right. Anybody else in favor of this project wishing to speak? Okay. Come on up. A name, address, 2 minutes. And you may want to pick up the microphone. I think you can grab it.
My name is Stephen Patton. I live at 4093 Magnolia Farms Drive. I just want to say I'm in favor of the project and representing the applicant.
Okay. All right. Thank you. All right. Now we turn to individuals who are in opposition to the measure. If you would come on up, and if there's more than one speaker, come on up, and you can line up. And again, same thing. I'll need name, address, and then you'll have 2 minutes in which to speak.
Thank you. I'm Jim Sears from 301 Conair Drive. I oppose the 1 Mile Parkway SP proposal. The proposal is intense and would add dangerous traffic at 1 Mile Parkway, where there is just this one small bridge over the railroad there. That small bridge over the railroad is the main outlet and the sole route to Gallatin Pike for the cars that would occupy the more than 600 parking spaces planned. And I don't think changing the traffic light timing will do much here. These large SP rezones need scrutiny. I'm glad they say they'll do blast tests, but we really need to know well in advance, as does Metro Nashville. The argument that there is reduced traffic because it's less than it would be commercial is flawed, because it's so much more than currently where there is no traffic from those parcels. And the applicant's responses to the detention ponds still don't know the depth, and previous comments about the open space in the Northwest have been unsatisfactory. Now, to the Planning Commission's credit, they did add the important condition of having that Northwest parcel be an open park for the community, not what was given to us by the applicants in the form of a security fence-lined private space. And so there's this sense that this is a transition between high to low density. I don't agree with that. Is 396 units almost the same amount as the previously withdrawn similar idea of there being 400 units? I think many would agree with a different zone classification somewhere in between that would make, I don't know, more than 80, more than 130 homes depending on the zoning. And as it is, if the development standards are not listed, the proposal defaults to RM40, which is high density residential. So by that logic, this proposal is high density, not really a transition between high and low density. So again, I oppose. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much. Next speaker.
My name is Brian Quarles, and I live at 253 Conair Drive in Madison. First, before I get started, I have a problem with those that approve because they don't live in my area. Those three of them that came up here. I live directly across the street from the proposed property. I've been living there over 11 years, so I can speak on what goes on over there. If you don't live there, you really don't have any business approving something that's not in your neighborhood. Okay. I'm writing to ask that you vote against case number SP 031-001, which is a proposal planned by Greystar to put a 300-plus apartment complex on the corner of Conair Drive and 1 Mile Parkway. The residents have expressed to our councilman, Zach Young, that we do not want or desire an apartment complex in our neighborhood. This complex will increase noise and cause major traffic issues and decrease property value. We do not want it, and it doesn't complement the neighborhood. It will be like a wart on smooth skin. There are homes and duplexes with yards. It is a neighborhood. Councilman Young has partnered with Greystar on the building company to defy the will of the people. I thought that elected officials work for the people, not big business, for it was the people, not big corporations, that elected the councilman to the seat you hold. I'm asking that it be opposed now, that it not be brought to the floor, since Also, since he represents Goodlettsville, I'm wondering why Goodlettsville does not have these kind of complexes coming up in their area. We do want something on that piece of property, something that complements and beautifies the neighborhood, that will encourage people looking for a home to buy and raise a family to want to move in our community. Our councilman under the advice of District 9 Councilman Nancy Van Reese seeks to undermine the will of the residents to get the bill passed. And I quote Councilman Young, "More heads in beds," as though he's advertising for the Hilton or the Marriott hotel chain. This is about maintaining the beauty and the integrity of our community for now and for the future. Thank you for your time.
All right. Ma'am, you wish to speak? Need your name, address, and then you've had 2 minutes in which to speak.
My name is Vanessa Quarles, and I live at 2.
Do you mind pulling that microphone a little closer? There you go.
My name is Vanessa Quarles, and I live at 253 Conair Drive, and I do not approve of this project. We opposed it last year, and the community stood out very strong against it. Zachary Young went against us. He said he was going to go with what the neighborhood asked for. We were strongly against it. And then he went around and he changed his mind. And we were very disappointed that he went against the neighborhood. We would prefer that we have single-family homes in our neighborhood and 2-family homes, not an apartment complex. There's enough crime going on in the area, and we don't need any more. We see cars driving up and down the street at high rates of speed, and adding more cars is not going to help. They are only proposing 1.5 cars per unit, which is not enough to support the people in that apartment complex if they build it. If they build it, that is not enough. Our neighbors live in duplexes and homes, and most of them have 2 and 3 cars and boats and things of that nature. We do not need that extra traffic because the traffic gets backed up by Lowe's and on 1 Mile Parkway. We also have wildlife in our neighborhood that we would prefer to keep. The greenery that we have, the trees, is great, and we need that because global warming. And if you continue to tear down the trees, it is not going to help our neighborhood. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Anybody else wishing to speak on this one? All right, declare the public hearing closed. Councilmember Young, you're recognized.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Move for approval, please.
All right, so do you have a substitute you want to put on this one?
You're right. I do believe we have the substitute from planning. So yes, let me move the substitute action.
All right, so Councilmember Young has a substitute on BL 2021-772, properly seconded. Back to you, Councilmember Young, for an explanation.
The substitute adopts the added requirements from Planning Commission, which requires the construction of a park that would be deeded over to Metro Parks, and whose landscape maintenance would be maintained by the developer in perpetuity, so as not to strain the Parks Department maintenance budget.
Okay, so you've heard an explanation of the substitute. The motion before us at this point is to approve the substitute on BL 2021-772. Any discussion on the substitute? All right, seeing none, we're voting on the substitute on BL 2021-772. Councilmember Hurt, you're recognized.
I actually wanted to speak on the bill itself, because I heard from several of the neighbors in that community, and I cannot stand in support of it. So I guess I should say I do not support the substitute, nor will I be able to support the bill
Okay,
itself.
well, I can come back to you if you want to talk about the bill.
Okay, thank you.
All right, so Councilmember Van Reese, we're on the substitute. Okay.
Yes,
Councilmember
on
Van
the
Reese.
substitute. As Chair of Parks, Library, and Arts, this is a great example of how a council member can work with a new development to provide pocket parks. for our community. As a neighbor and someone who lives within walking distance, I'm looking forward to a park. That's my comments on this. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Councilmember Van Rees. Any other comments? Remember, we're on the substitute. All right, seeing none, we are ready to vote on the substitute. All those in favor of the substitute on 2021-772, say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Okay, so the substitute passes. We are now on BL 2021-772 as substituted. Councilmember Young, you're recognized.
I will move for approval and a brief explanation.
All right, Councilmember Young has moved approval of BL 2021-772 as substituted, properly seconded. Back to you.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. As Councilmember Van Rees pointed out, in the substitute, there will be that park, but also worth noting the very heavily forested part of this site. It's approximately 4 acres is going to be preserved as part of the SP as a natural buffer and will be left alone, preserving those trees. And that's the part of the site that is adjacent to the single-family housing on the north. The density of this site, or of this plan, is along the south side, facing Lowe's, facing 1 Mile Pike, where there is a signalized intersection at Galton Road, which has been identified in the past as a high-capacity transit corridor where density is appropriate, fits with the community plan. And I urge my colleagues to support the availability of more housing in an area of town where we certainly need it.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Young. Councilmember Hurt, do you wish to be recognized?
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. I just want to stand and say that, I would really like to see council members work with their constituency and everybody comes away happy with whatever new development is being presented. And I'm sorry to say that I did receive several emails and telephone calls in regards to this particular bill, and I just could not in good faith stand in support of it, and I would really like to see the sponsor go back and work things out with his residents and neighbors.
Okay. Thank you, Councilmember Hurt. Anybody else wishing to speak on this measure? All right, so where we are procedurally is we're on BL 2021-772 as substituted. The motion is to approve. It was, again, properly seconded. We're on second reading, so there's another reading on this measure. We're on second reading. Nobody else is in the queue. Oh, Councilmember Van Rees, you're recognized.
Sorry, I was double-clicking my button.
Okay.
I just wanted to rise again in support of this because I am a neighbor, and for those, I'm sorry that I missed some of the comments earlier because I was in the hallway, so I apologize for that, and I will go back and listen because I'm sure that at least one or two maybe were in District 8 because the Lowe's is actually in District 8. We kind of share 1 Mile Parkway. I've lived within walking distance of this for over 20 years. Currently, it is zoned commercial. I think the overwhelming concern the first time out when it was affordable apartments, and again now where it's market rate apartments, was traffic. What's really going to be hard is if that turns into all commercial, the traffic's going to be much worse than people just coming and going from their place of where they live. There's continued support, I know, from the developers to rework the traffic signal along with WeGo. This is a very important intersection. It's basically halfway between Rivergate Mall and Madison Station. And so this is going to be extremely important to WeGo to get it right and to have a developer that's willing to help do that. Unfortunately, because it goes over a CSX track, it makes it very difficult to maneuver, but there has been a lot of work there. I think that one of the conversations we had, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, Lisa may have these numbers again, but I believe it was 40,000 cars less to zone it residential rather than it being commercial. So when I heard that data, it really influenced me at the Planning Commission. I think that we need more housing, and I think that it's very difficult in a suburban neighborhood to kind of get used to that notion that that new housing that Nashville needs is going to be near you. But when you live literally maybe 300 feet from Gallatin Pike, you're going to see more residential. This is very close to Nashville State Madison campus, and I think that it's a really good plan, and I am struggling to make sure that my constituents in District 8 realize that. I'll continue to work with Mr. Young in regard to that. 13,000, not 40, 13. It's another project. 13,000 less cars every day with the rezoning. Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you, Councilmember. Councilmember Murphy.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. I just wanted to reiterate some of the things that have been said that we also talked about at the Planning Commission. One of the major points that the commissioners wanted to put in here was talking about the park, making sure that it was public access so that the surrounding neighbors could access the park. There is also, I'm not sure if a landscape buffer is the right word because it's not our typical ABCD in the code landscape buffer, but there is green space buffer between this and the neighborhood. But I think one of the big areas that brought me to support this at the Planning Commission was the fact that this is right next to the Gallatin corridor, which is one of our highest use of mass transit. And I think if we want mass transit to succeed, we have to put the density on those corridors. Also, this is right next to where the Madison Motor Mile begins. And I think that we can all agree that branding ourselves and continuing to promote car lots is not something that we really want for our neighborhoods. While that is something that Madison has been very successful with in the past, I think the future for Madison, and I don't want to speak for the representatives of that area, but I think the future for Madison is moving away from car lots, parking lots, basically. And like Council Lady Van Rees mentioned, with having Nashville State, which the main campus is in my district, this campus is going to be very successful. It's newly built. It's going to draw from so many different areas, and we need housing around that campus. And so that is just a few of the reasons why the fellow commissioners and I supported this at the commission, and why I'm supporting it here tonight with Councilman Young and Council Lady Van Rees. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Councilmember Murphy. I think that clears the queue. Let me make sure everybody remembers. Councilmember Henderson, you're recognized.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. I want to express appreciation for the partnership with Parks and thinking that through. I did want to ask the councilman, particular to kind of the forest retention and green area. When I look at the satellite view and line that up over the site map, I can see that there is some retained, again, as you said, where the single family housing is. But, you know, there is pretty significant tree loss there. And so I sometimes wonder when we have you know, I concur. Let's get some density here supported by transit. But did they look at making any of the units kind of higher in height so as not to have such a wide footprint? Can you kind of speak to any of that deliberation if there was in retaining more trees, which some of the neighbors and constituents spoke to, please?
Councilmember Young.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. And I apologize for not standing up when I'm speaking. I've recently had surgery, so I'm not trying to be disrespectful to anyone. As far as the particular designs and why they chose the number of stories that they did, I think part of that was in order to get the unit count they wanted and leave space at the north part of the site. But I can't necessarily speak to that with absolute certainty, Councilwoman.
Councilmember Henderson.
Vice Mayor, could planning staff perhaps speak to that? Because I can't tell the height of the units, but I mean, it's a big site and it's really spread out. There's a whole lot of surface parking. And so I just look at it as far as kind of optimizing the density. I know there's some topographical stuff, but it looks like there's, you know, a lot of asphalt and flatness down at one end of the lot, and I'm just wondering why we didn't put more density down there and retain some of the the trees, and there's not a landscape plan attached to the document. So I know that sometimes comes later, but if you could just speak to that, please.
So the, yes, of course. So the land use policy for this property is a suburban policy. So this is not an urban policy. So it is both within a suburban neighborhood evolving and a suburban mixed use corridor policies. And so it is going to be a more suburban design because that's what the policy, of course, is calling for. Now, in regards to height, the buildings are proposed to be 3 stories and 45 feet, which is the height that's generally supported by those policies. The policy wouldn't necessarily support more height. And so, yes, you could have had a lesser footprint, but you would have been looking at a more urban form. And again, this is a suburban policy. And so we do look at sort of different footprints as being appropriate within our suburban policies versus our urban policies. And so the height is in line with the policy. And then it is a suburban. And you know, we looked at pulling the buildings back off of the road some, consistent again with a more suburban footprint or context. And so, yes, that's.
Thank you. That answers my questions.
All right. Thank you, Councilmember Henderson. Thank you, Ms. Milligan. All right. So I believe that clears the queue. Let me tell you again where we are. We're on item number 23, BL 2021-772 as substituted. The motion is to approve on second reading. Again, the bill as substituted. It's been properly seconded. And nobody else in the queue. We are ready to vote. So this is, again, passes on second reading. There are 3 readings on these bills. This is on second. BL 2021-772 as substituted. All those in favor of the bill as substituted say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Okay, so the bill passes, and we have Councilmember Hurt voting no. Okay. So the bill passes on second reading. We're on item number 24, BL 2021-773 by Councilmember Withers. This is an ordinance to amend Title 17 by changing from MULA to SV zoning for properties located at 943, 945, and 947 Woodland Street. Permit a mixed-use development. Councilmember Withers, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. I'd like to open the public hearing, please.
Okay, declare the public hearing open. A show of hands of those who are here in favor of the measure. Okay, see 2 hands in the front. Show of hands of those who are here in opposition to the measure. See nobody here in opposition. Those in favor wish to speak. Nope. Declare the public hearing closed. Councilmember Withers, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. I would like to move approval of this, and then I do have a substitute as well.
Okay, so let's go ahead and get the substitute on, and then you can move approval of it. Councilmember Withers moves the substitute. Properly seconded. Back to you for an explanation of the substitute.
This substitute represents just a couple of additional details to the specific plan that were recommended by the Planning Department. I would kind of characterize them as being a little bit more housekeeping, at least at this stage. I do want to move approval of that, but also want to share with colleagues and anyone who might be viewing that I'm continuing to work with the applicants to look at excluded uses. This sort of defaults to MULA-based zoning. The applicant has worked with me in the community to exclude short-term rental uses. This is mostly for a building that would be mostly an apartment building in an area where we need it. And the exclusion of the short-term rentals helps to ensure that that additional building envelope is truly for housing. So I think that's a good thing. We are also continuing to work with the community, and I had a community meeting recently to discuss, like, while we're looking at the land use profile within MULA, you know, what other uses should we exclude or possibly include? And those conversations are still open with the public. So I do anticipate bringing a few additional tweaks for this on third reading, but want to express my appreciation to the applicant for working with me and the planning department for several months on this to make sure that we get this legislation right. In terms of the design of the building, this does still lie within the MDHA East Bank Redevelopment District, and so final height and design will be decided by the MDHA Design Review Committee itself. But what I'm continuing to work with the applicant and neighbors and community members on is those land use exclusions to just to make sure that we get the zoning piece right on this before we send it over to MDHA for design review. So with all of that, I would like to renew my motion to approve the bill as substituted.
Okay, we got to get the substitute on first. So I got a motion to approve the substitute. Again, it was properly seconded. Any discussion, any questions about the substitute? All right, seeing none, we're on the substitute. All those in favor of the substitute say aye. Opposed, no. Substitute passes. Now we're back on your bill as substituted. Councilmember Withers.
Move approval.
Got a motion to approve BL 2021-773 as substituted. Properly seconded. Any discussion? Seeing none. All those in favor of the motion to approve on second reading, 773 as substituted, say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. That bill passes on second reading as substituted. Item number 25, Councilmember Sledge, BL 2021-774, ordinance to amend Title 17 by changing from IWD to MULA-NS zoning for properties located at 509 and 511 Hagan Street, southeast corner of Hagan Street and Gray Street, 22.22 acres. Councilmember Sledge, you're recognized.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Open the public hearing, please.
Okay, open up the public hearing. Show of hands of those who are here in favor of this measure. Show of hands of those who are here in opposition to this measure. Seeing nobody either way, Councilmember Sledge, you're recognized.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Move approval, please.
Okay, got a motion to approve, properly seconded. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of 2021-774 on second reading, say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. 774 passes. Bill 2021-775 by Councilmember O'Connell. Ordinance to amend Title 17 by changing from CN to SP zoning for property located at 1803 Fifth Avenue North to permit 4 multifamily residential units and 1,900 square feet of non-residential uses. Councilmember O'Connell, you are recognized.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to open the public hearing, please.
Declare the public hearing open. A show of hands of those who are here in favor of this measure. See a bunch of people all sitting together in the back. A show of hands of those who are in opposition to this measure. Seeing nobody in opposition, those in favor wish to speak. All right, declare the public hearing closed. Councilmember O'Connell, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to move approval.
Okay, got a motion to approve 775 on second reading. Properly seconded. Any discussion? Seeing none. All those in favor of 775 on second reading say aye. Opposed, no. You adopt. Okay, we're on page 13 of the agenda. Item number 27, BL 2021-776 by Councilmember Gamble. And did somebody pick up on this bill? Councilmember Gamble has the next one. It will be automatically deferred. Councilmember Porterfield, are you on this bill? Councilmember Porterfield?
No, sir, but can I sign on so that it can go forward?
Yeah, we're not sure what she wants to do. Has she told you?
She has not told me, Vice Mayor.
Okay, just for the benefit of everybody, typically we would just move it to the next public hearing date.
Yes,
okay?
sir.
But I appreciate you standing up and saying that. We're just not sure what she wants to do. Okay, so 776 is automatically deferred to the first meeting in August. Okay, we're on item number 28. Councilmember Roberts, BL 2021-777, ordinance to amend Title 17 by changing from SP to RA zoning for properties located at 6015 and 6017 O'Brien Avenue. It's approximately 170 feet east of Eastboro Drive. It's 0.78 acres. Councilmember Roberts, you are recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. I'd like to open the public hearing, please.
All right, declare the public hearing open. A show of hands of those who are here in favor of this measure. Show of hands of those who are here in opposition to this measure. Seeing nobody on either side, declare the public hearing closed. Councilmember Roberts, on her birthday, what do you want to do?
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. I'd like to move for approval.
Okay, so the motion is to approve 2021-777 on second reading, properly seconded. Any discussion? Seeing none, we're ready to vote. All those in favor of 2021-777 on second reading say aye. Opposed, no. Bill passes on second reading. Bill 2021-778 by Councilmember Hager. Ordinance to amend Title 17 by changing from RS10 to RM6 NS zoning. Properties located at 4224, 4226, and 4230 Andrew Jackson Parkway, approximately 575 feet north of Tyler Drive. It's 3.61 acres. Councilmember Hager, you are recognized.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Open the public hearing,
Okay,
please.
declare the public hearing open. A show of hands of those who are here in favor of this measure. Okay, show of hands of those who are here in opposition to this measure. Seeing nobody in opposition, those in favor wish to speak. Seeing nobody moving, declare the public hearing closed. Councilmember Hager, you're recognized.
Move for passage with a brief statement.
Okay, the motion is to pass 778 on second reading, properly seconded. Back to you.
Yeah, this was on Andrew Jackson Parkway. We had 2 meetings about it, and it's split between me and Council Lady Evans. Some people across the street didn't want it, but what it basically ends up being, this was zoned for 16 houses, single family. And I told the developer when he came to me with this, he wanted to build the townhouses. I said, stay as close as you can to what's already there as far as the zoning. So we did the RM6, which allows 20 units. These will be $350,000 to $400,000 townhouses geared towards seniors. And it's going to have a little small dog park. And I think most people across the street were concerned about traffic. I made them do a traffic study, had another meeting about it. So I've jumped through all the hoops I can, and I appreciate y'all supporting this. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Councilmember Hager. Again, we are on BL 2021-778. This is a motion to pass on second reading, again, properly seconded. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of 778 on second reading say aye. Opposed, no. You adopt. We're on item number 30, BL 2021-779 by Councilmember Welsh. Ordinance to amend Title 17 by change from RS5 to R6A zoning on properties located at 2700, 2703A, 2705A, 2704, 2706, 2707, 2709, 2711, and 2713 Fannie Williams Street, approximately 400 feet south of Whitsett Road, 1.51 acres. Councilmember Welsh, we understand that notices didn't get out. Councilmember Welsh, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. No, I'd like to defer to the first meeting in August due to lack of notice.
So automatically defer to the first meeting in August. So because of the notices, it goes there automatically. First meeting in August. Thank you. Okay. And then item number 31, this is the last of the public hearing bills. This is also by Councilmember Welsh. BL 2021-780, ordinance to amend Title 17 by changing from RS10 to SP zoning for property located at 2512 Rasco Street, approximately 260 feet south of J Street. It's 0.28 acres. This is a disapproved bill. Councilmember Welsh, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. I'd like to open the public hearing.
Okay, you have to get the slides first, and then we would open up the public hearing. Planning, Councilmember, Ms. Milligan, you're recognized.
Thank you. This is a request to rezone to an SP for property located at 2512 Rasco Street. The request is to rezone from RS10 to SP to permit a detached accessory dwelling unit and all other uses permitted under the RS10 zoning. This is another view. I apologize, this was not updated. The Planning Commission recommendation was actually to disapprove. This is another shot of the proposal, which shows the existing home and a detached building. And the proposal would be for the detached building to be converted to a detached accessory dwelling unit. Here's another shot of the context showing this in relation to the other homes in the area. The existing zoning is RS10, and this is consistent for all of the properties along Rasco as well as surrounding properties. All are zoned RS10. RS10 is residential single family, 10,000 square feet minimum lot size. It would not permit duplexes or dadus. The land use or the proposed SP would be a regulatory SP, which would permit the use of the existing detached building as a detached accessory dwelling unit. The land use policy for the property is T3 suburban neighborhood maintenance, which indicates that properties should be maintained in existing context and land use. This is showing another shot showing the building footprints in the area. And the land uses of the area are generally single-family with some two-family. The Planning Commission recommended disapproval given the land use policy of T3 suburban neighborhood maintenance and the existing context along Rasco Street as being single-family. Therefore, the Planning Commission recommended disapproval.
All right, thank you, Ms. Milligan. Councilmember Welsh, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. I'd like to open the public hearing.
Okay, declare the public hearing open. A show of hands of those who are here in favor of this measure. Okay. Don't come up yet. Show of hands of those who are here in opposition to this measure. Okay, nobody's in opposition. Those in favor wish to speak. If you want to, come on up. And need your name, address, and you've got 2 minutes in which to speak.
Thank you. Nate Jones. I live at the property under discussion at 2512 Rasco Street. Thank you all for being here to hear this. I initially reached out to Jenny about a year ago to propose this idea, and she was generally in favor of it. We then took it to the Planning Commission, or the planning staff, who was in favor of it and worked with us on it. It then went to 3 planning hearings. The first one was deferred due to an illness. The second was, it was initially disapproved in the same meeting. It was then revoted on, which I didn't know was possible, and it tied that one, which then sent it to a third meeting where it was ultimately disapproved. So that's kind of where it stands now. I would like to just have this reconsidered. I think that it's a reasonable zone change. There are a lot of multifamily that are very close by. There are a lot of renters in the area. There would be no change to the site or the character of the neighborhood. The structure already exists. It had the proper permitting back in the early 90s when it was originally built. I gained support of, upon Jenny's request, I went to neighbors and got their support, let them know what I was doing, have them sign a petition saying they understood and had no objection to it. And so for those reasons, I would just like for it to be reconsidered. And I thank you for your time.
Thank you. Next speaker. Need your name, address, and you got 2 minutes in which to speak.
Great. Hey, good evening, everyone. My name is Josh McDonald, 1416 Breckenridge Court. So back around August, September, Mr. Nate reached out to me basically to help him figure out how to permit a daddy on his property. And after analyzing the situation, reading through the code, I was like, all right, the SP, that's the only route we've got here. And me and him both did not realize how many hoops we'd have to hurdle through. So for this request, as you guys have heard, we didn't get planning commission approval. However, we always had planning staff approval, and that was due to our request essentially still conforming with the existing development pattern that exists on Rasco Street, as Ms. Milligan already discussed, and our plan to repurpose the existing structure on the lot, which would then allow us to not need the urban zoning overlay, alley access, and the strict lot size requirements as would be required under a normal situation. And that's because, of course, we're using our SP to grandfather that existing detached structure to be used as a legal daddy. There's also, heard some concerns from council people over codes, and I'm here to confirm that the building is 550 square feet, living space, is short enough, and it's right behind the principal structure, so therefore it makes it an ideal legal daddy. Furthermore, there was a somewhat similar request that was approved on April 20th, basically to permit a daddy, but that one was for a newer structure, and that was also in technically an evolving area. But since planning staff recommended approval of the staff, not the commission, recommended approval of our request, basically due to us still being able to conform with the existing neighborhood character, then we think that our request is reasonable and very well much in line. And then also, we've been working pretty hard to kind of communicate and clear up any misunderstandings, miscommunications with the request, and we hope that we can have your support in order to provide greater housing choice. Thank you.
All right, thank you. I believe that is the last speaker. Declare the public hearing closed. Councilmember Welsh, you're recognized.
Thank you. I would like to move to approve with a brief explanation.
All right, so Councilmember Welsh has moved to approve 2021-780 for passes on second reading, properly seconded. Back to you.
Thank you. The reason that I am supportive of this is because I agree with the planning staff recommendations. This does maintain the character of the neighborhood, which is what T3 neighborhood maintenance should do. The properties immediately to the north and the east already have the same types of dwellings, and the street behind it, Ludi Street, it already has 2 family properties on it, so it maintains, nothing is going to change in terms of the character of the neighborhood. There will be no short-term rentals. There is a 2-car garage underneath where people who rent the apartment above can park their cars. There's also additional parking in the back, so we won't have any more parking on the street. Ultimately, Mr. Jones, his parents will be moving to Nashville. They are elderly, and ultimately that is why he wants to build this, so that they can live there. In the meantime, these will be long-term rentals, and we need more housing in my district. So I once again hope that my colleagues can support this, and I renew my motion to approve.
All right, thank you, Councilmember Welsh. Again, the motion is to approve 2021-780 on second reading. It's been properly seconded. Councilmember O'Connell, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. President. Can I just ask planning staff, would a DADU overlay district apply here in a way that would allow this to work without being disapproved by the commission?
Ms. Milligan?
Hi, no. So the DADU overlay as you all know, you recently approved DADU overlay, which is only applicable within a limited area right now of the UZO. And so this is outside of the UZO, and so a DADU overlay could not be applied to this area.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, Councilmember O'Connell. Councilmember Murphy, you're recognized.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Ms. Milligan, I don't know if you can speak to this, but one of the proponents said that this had been properly permitted originally, and I was thinking that at the Planning Commission we had some discussion about that because I'm not sure why they need a zone change if it was originally permitted in the proper use. Is this not a non-conforming use, or was it not properly permitted?
Hi, I was looking to see if I could locate some permit history, and I did find a permit for a garage. I did not, and I haven't finished looking, but I did not find a permit for finishing out as a residential unit. But it was permitted in '93 for a garage.
Thank you, Ms. Milligan. I was just trying to remember, this case did come before planning, and we did defer it at one meeting and came back to it. The Planning Commission did feel that this was a spot zoning and something that could be precedent setting, that people would ask basically for forgiveness after building out a DADU or an apartment over a garage. And so that was a lot of the conversation at the Planning Commission, and why we did ultimately, we had tied originally, but did ultimately vote this for disapproval, because there has been kind of a changing and evolving story here. But ultimately, the conversation did revolve around, is this, asking for forgiveness after not getting properly permitted, and then the overriding factor of this is a spot zoning, which we know is not good planning policy. And so the Planning Commission did overwhelmingly disagree with this this overlay, or with this rezone. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Councilmember Murphy. Councilmember Syracuse.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. I want to support my colleague. I want to support our neighbors. I had a really good, respectful email exchange with the applicant here. I have to vote no on this because I have to remain consistent with how I voted with the use of an SP in the middle of a neighborhood. I live in a suburban maintenance policy. An SP in the middle of that, to permit that which a community plan doesn't allow, does set a bad precedent. It opens up Pandora's box. Here in the foreseen advantages to zone changes that we're looking at proves my point. Rampant spot zoning serves as a first step for allowing other interested homeowners to do their own SPs and have DADUs on their own. Think about, if you live in a suburban maintenance policy zone, would you want random SPs popping up in your neighborhoods to allow DADUs? I supported the process we just went through to be able to allow the expansion of DADUs. And so my suggestion to the applicant and to Councilmember Welsh here, I understand this would take longer, but you've already spent a year on this. We should go back and do this in the proper process and method, which is look at expanding the UZO, And then if you can apply the DADU overlay, fine. But it is very bad precedent that we are applying an SP in this way. And I want to support the intent. I want to support the neighbor. But this is just a very inappropriate use of SP. I can't support it. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Council Member. Council Member Roten, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Chair. I was going to ask, and someone from planning might be able to tell me. I just looked real quick at the permits, and it said that there was a permit for a short-term rental on this property in 2018 by the owner. Do you know if that's still in place? And was that for the main building, or was that possibly for the back structure that didn't get approved?
I saw that as well, and generally, it's an owner-occupied permit, so generally, it's not going to give much more detail than that it's an owner-occupied permit, and an owner-occupied short-term rental would be permitted there under the existing zoning. And it says it's expired, but it also looks like it was renewed. I was trying to sort of figure that out as well. Codes issues those, and I was digging through a little bit to try to figure that out. But I wouldn't know which of the two it was issued for.
Okay. Would this permit owner-occupied in the back?
I believe that the SP was written in a way that it would actually prohibit short-term, no, it would still permit uses of RS10, and so RS10 would permit owner-occupied short-term rental.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor.
All right. Thank you, Councilmember Roten. I think that clears the queue. I'm going to go back to Councilmember Welsh.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. I would like to renew my move to approve. Because the planning staff felt that this was not out of line with the development pattern and the character of the neighborhood, I feel like this is a good use of the space, and I would like to see more housing in our area. I will try to work with the applicant before third reading to make some changes if necessary, but I would still like to move to approve this evening.
All right, so here's where we are. Councilmember Welsh has moved for approval of BL 2021-780 on second reading. It was properly seconded. There is nobody else in the queue. We're ready to vote. We're going to try this by voice vote. All those in favor of 2021-780 on second reading say aye. Opposed, no. Okay, so I can't tell. So I think we're going to have to go on the board. All right. So again, here's where we are. We're voting on, this is item number 31. It's on second reading, okay? BL 2021-780. Obviously, it's a disapproved bill. That doesn't matter on second reading. That matters on third reading. BL 2021-780 by Councilmember Welsh. She has moved for passage, properly seconded. We are voting on the bill on second reading. Madam Clerk, are you ready? Okay, so we are ready to vote. It just needs a simple majority to get through on second reading. All right, so we are ready to vote. Madam Clerk, open up the machines. Everybody voted? Okay. All right. So all the votes are in. Madam Clerk, close the machines, take the vote. All right, so looks like ayes 18, noes 11. There were four individuals abstaining. So the bill passes on second reading and moves on to third. All right. I believe that takes care of all bills on the public hearing. So thank you all for staying with us. I'm checking my phone because I got a message. I did. Of course, and now my phone has run out of battery. But what I can tell you is that I got a message from Elise Waller in our office. It looks like Roseanne Hayes is going to be discharged from the hospital tonight. Okay. So someone else will have to keep up because my phone is now out of power. Oh, there you go. Will that work? Won't work. This one won't do it. All right. Just here, just put that over there. Okay. All right, we're now ready for items on the consent agenda. This is on page 15. So I think as I went through it before, I believe there's only one item that is not on the consent calendar, but let's go through and make sure that we're right. Just thank you. These are items on the consent agenda. Here we go. RS 2021-974 on consent, 1012 on consent, 1013 on consent, 1014 on consent, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29. The only one that's not on consent is item number 51, RS 2021-1030. 31 is on consent, 32 is on consent, 33 on consent, 34 on consent, 35 on consent, 36 on consent, 37 on consent. Councilmember O'Connell, you recognized.
Thank you. Can we pull RS 2021-1026, please?
1026. Okay, hold on. 1026. And item number 47 is that's when, Councilmember O'Connell? Okay. Okay. So RS 2021-1026, that's item number 47 is being pulled. Councilmember Hurt, you recognized. Item number 37. Okay. RS 2021-1016 is also being pulled. Okay. Councilmember Allen, you recognized?
Item 56.
Item 56 is being pulled. Okay. 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 Anything else? All right, here we go. RS 2021-974. The first bill on consent. I'm just going to read through all the bills on consent. RS 2021-974, Toombs, Nash, Withers, and others. Resolution approving an agreement between CSX Transportation and the Metropolitan Government of Nashville and Davidson County, acting by and through its Department of Public Works for payment to CSXT for costs incurred due to maintenance and repairs of 4 bridges. RS 2021-1012, Porterfield, Welsh, Hancock, and Saguaro. Resolution accepting a grant for the state of Tennessee to the Metropolitan Government for the provision of interpretive translation services for court hearings which involve parties with limited English proficiency in the Davidson County Trial Court. 2021-1013, Porterfield, Welsh, and Saguaro. Resolution approving Amendment 1 to a Community Corrections and Substance Abuse Grant for the Tennessee Department of Corrections to the Metropolitan Government through the state trial courts to divert eligible offenders from the Tennessee prison system by providing a community supervision and treatment services. Item number 35 by Porterfield, Welsh, and others, RS 2021-1014, resolution accepting grant for the state of Tennessee Administrative Office of the Courts through the Davidson County Juvenile Court for the provision of interpretive translation services for parties with limited English proficiency. RS 2021-1015 by Councilmember Johnston, a resolution approving the election of certain notary publics for Davidson County. RS 2021-1017, that's item number 38, Porterfield, Rutherford, and Welsh, resolution approving the Benefit Board's waiver of repayment of pension benefit overpayments for pensioners under Section 3.08.230 of the Metropolitan Code. Item 39, Porterfield and Gamble, RS 2021-1018, resolution approving an interlocal agreement between the Emergency Communications District of Nashville and Davidson County and the Metropolitan Government for the provision of services and reimbursement of costs pertaining to enhanced 911 services. RS 2021-1019, Porterfield and Gamble, resolution accepting a grant from the Nashville Prevention Partnership to the Metropolitan Government through the Beer Permit Board to administer programs and activities of support to support adherence to the enforcement of underage drinking laws. RS 2021-1020, Taylor Porterfield, Van Reese, and others. Resolution accepting a grant from the Metro Historical Commission Foundation to the Metro government, acting by and through the Metropolitan Historical Commission to assess the historic concrete structures in Centennial Park. RS 2021-1021, Porterfield and Saguaro. Resolution accepting a direct appropriation grant for the state of Tennessee in the amount of $5 million. Item 43, RS 2021-1022, Porterfield and Welsh, a resolution approving Amendment 1 to a grant from Tennessee Emergency Management Agency to the Metropolitan Government through the Department of Finance to provide public assistance pursuant to presidential disaster declarations for costs incurred for severe storms, tornadoes, straight-line winds, and flooding on March 3rd, 2020. Item number 44, RS 2021-1023, Porterfield, Taylor, Welsh, and Saguaro, resolution accepting a grant for the United Way of Middle Tennessee to the Metropolitan Government, acting by and through the Metropolitan Action Commission to provide employment and or training-related services to active supplemental nutrition assistance program, that's the SNAP recipients. RS 2021-1024, Porterfield, Van Reese, Welsh, and Taylor, resolution accepting a grant from the Tennessee Arts Commission to the Metropolitan Government through the Metro Arts Commission for funding to nonprofit organizations to nurture artists, art organizations, and art supporters in Davidson County. Item number 46, RS 2021-1025, Porterfield and Van Reese, resolution accepting a grant from the National Coalition for Arts Preparedness and Emergency Response to the Metropolitan Government through the Metro Arts Commission for training and travel expenses for virtual and in-person meetings for attendees in the, I think they call it INCAPER, Crisis Analysis and Mitigation Coach Training Pilot Programs. Item 47 has been pulled off. Item 48, RS 2021-1027, Porterfield and Gamble, resolution approving a contract between the State of Tennessee Department of Mental Health and Substance Abuse Services and the Metro Government through the Fire Department, authorizing the state to pay for the Metropolitan Government for emergency transportation services. RS 2021-1028, Porterfield, a resolution authorizing the Metropolitan Department of Law to compromise and settle a personal injury claim of Devin Carter against the Metro Government in the amount of $7,500 that meant to be paid out of the Self-Insured Liability Fund. Item number 50, RS 2021-1029 by Councilmember Porterfield, a resolution authorizing the Metropolitan Department of Law settle the personal injury claim of Dean Torchin against the Metropolitan Government of Nashville and Davidson County in the amount of $80,000, said amount to be paid out of the Self-Insured Liability Fund. RS 2021-1031 by Councilmember Porterfield, resolution authorizing the Metropolitan Department of Law to compromise and settle property damage claim of Robert Harwell against Metro Government in the amount of $20,733.59, said amount to be paid out of the Self-Insured Liability Fund. RS 2021-1032 by Van Reese, Murphy, and Nash, a resolution to amend ordinance number BL 2014-757, authorize the Metropolitan Government to negotiate and accept additional permanent and temporary easements for the Joyce Lane Stormwater Improvement Project for 12 properties located along Graymore Drive, Joyce Lane, Lamont Drive, and Saunders Avenue. Item number 54, RS 2021-1033, Murphy, Nash, and O'Connell resolution to amend ordinance number BL 2021-684 to authorize the Metropolitan Government to abandon water main, fire hydrant assemblies, and easements, to add phasing, to modify the acceptance of new public sanitary sewer and water mains, sanitary sewer manholes, fire hydrant assemblies and easements, and update map and parcel information. Property now located at 1320 Adams Street, now known as the Newhoff Development Phase 1. RS 2021-1034 by Syracuse, Murphy, and Nash. Resolution to amend ordinance number BL 2021-697, authorize the Metropolitan Government of Nashville and Davidson County modify the abandonment acceptance of public water mains and easements properly located at 1634 and 1636 Lebanon Pike, also known as Apartment Concepts. RS 2021-1036 by Councilmember Stiles, Swar, Rosenberg, and others. Resolution honoring the life of Jimmy Allen Ruth, bus driver for the Freedom Riders. And RS 2021-1037 by Councilmember Hurd. Resolution recognizing July 23rd, 2021 as National Women Touched by Addiction Day. Those are the items on the consent calendar. Does anything else need to be pulled off? All right, seeing none, we are ready for, that's ready for committee reports. All right, here we go. All right, committee reports. I'm going to start with Councilmember Saguaro. You've got affordable housing.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Affordable Housing voted on RS 2021-1016, and we recommend approval, 7 in favor, 0 against.
All right, thank you, Councilmember Saguaro. Councilmember Porterfield, you're recognized on budget and finance.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Budget and Finance Committee voted for approval, 9 in favor, 0 against, on RS 2021, 1012, 1013, 1014, 1017, 1018, 1019, 1020, 1021, 1022, 1023, 1024, 25, 27, 28, 29, and 31.
You got a future like our former director, Mr. John Cooper. Thank you.
Thank you.
Parks, Library, and Arts, Councilmember Van Rees. Anybody from Parks in here? All right, let's come back and see if we can find Councilmember Van Rees. I've got Personnel, Councilmember Rutherford.
Thank you, Mr. President. On RS 2021-1017, Personnel voted to recommend passage, 6 in favor, 0 against.
Okay, thank you, Councilmember Rutherford. Planning and Zoning, Councilmember Murphy.
Thank you. Planning and Zoning voted 15 in favor, 0 against on 1020, 1032, 1033, and 1034.
All right, thank you, Councilmember Murphy. Councilmember Rosenberg, Public Safety.
Thank you, Mr. President. Public Safety had 1018, 1019, and 1027. Voted 6 in favor, none against on all of them.
All right, I see Councilmember Van Rees has shown back up from Parks and Library. Councilmember Van Rees, we're on the consent calendar. You got a
I
couple bills.
missed you terribly.
We all missed you. Okay.
Resolution, Parks, Library, and Art resolutions 1020, 1024, and 1025 were all approved, 6 in favor, 0 against.
Thank you. That was one of the best reports I've ever heard. Thank you. Councilmember Nash, Public Works.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. Public Works took up RS 2021-974, 1032, 1033, 1034, and recommended approval of those, 11 in favor, 0 against.
All right. And the last one is Councilmember Johnston. Rules. You've got it.
Thank you. Rules voted 9 in favor, 0 against for RS 2021-1015, 1036, and 1037. And with that, I would move approval of the consent agenda.
All right. So I've got a motion to approve all those matters on the consent agenda, properly seconded. Councilmember Stiles, you're recognized on Resolution 1036. I think you want everybody to be added as a sponsor?
Yes, thank you so very much, Vice Mayor. Got thrown off there.
So without objection, 1036 is on the consent agenda. Without objection, everybody voting in the favor in the affirmative will be added as a sponsor. Any objections? Okay.
Thank you.
All right. We are ready on the consent agenda. Councilmember Johnston has moved approval. It's been properly seconded. All those in favor of the consent agenda on resolution say aye. Opposed, no. Consent agenda passes. Okay, now we're going to go back to those measures that were taken off the consent agenda. Okay. First one is on page 16 of my calendar. It's item number 37. It is RS 2021-1016 by Councilmember Swore and Porterfield. It's a resolution authorizing the Metropolitan Mayor to submit substantial amendment number 4 and the 2021-2022 annual update to the 2018-2023 Consolidated Plan for Housing and Community Development to the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development. Councilmember Swore, you are recognized. So this was taken off consent, so what you would be doing is looking for the committee report.
That was the committee report I gave earlier.
Well, that's okay. That's okay. You're going to do it again.
All right, Affordable Housing voted, we recommend approval, 7 in favor, 0 against.
Okay, so pick up the microphone so we can all hear you. Then say, Mr. Vice Mayor, I think you're wonderful, and then say committee reports, please.
Oh, my God. Okay, third time is the charm. Committee report, please.
All right. So I'm going to go to Budget and Finance. Councilmember Porterfield, hiding behind Councilmember Murphy. You're recognized.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Budget and Finance voted 9 in favor, 0 against.
Okay, and back to you, Councilmember Swore. You're on affordable housing. You've already given the report, but give it again.
You want me to give it? Oh, okay. Affordable
Affordable
housing
housing.
recommend approval, 7 in favor, 0 against.
All right, and then you're ready to
And then-
go? You move for approval.
Yes, I move for approval with a brief explanation.
Okay, so let me get the approval properly seconded. Back to you.
Thank you. This is the annual report that MDHA gives to the Department of Housing and Urban Development, and it basically just lists what the plan is going to be for the next 4 years. During the Affordable Housing Committee meeting, there was a clause in there, there was something in there that talks about stopping the development at Napier, and we did talk to the representative from MDHA, but it's not really stopping it, it's just that they're reapportioning the money right now, and they're trying to just refigure what they do. I don't know if anybody from MDHA is still here, but this is a standard thing that we've been approving, and with that, I move for approval.
Okay, so Councilmember Suara has moved for approval of Resolution RS 2021-1016. It's been properly seconded. Discussion on the resolution. Okay. Ready to vote? All those in favor of the resolution say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Any abstentions? There's the abstention. Okay, I knew there was something that had happened. Councilmember Hurt abstains on the resolution. All right, so the resolution passes with one abstention. Councilmember Hurt.
Thank you.
Okay, we are now on item number 47. This is RS 2021-1026 by Councilmember Porterfield. This is a resolution accepting the terms of a cooperative purchasing master agreement for auctioneer services and related products. Councilmember Porterfield, you are recognized on RS 2021-1026.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Budget and Finance voted to approve, 9 in favor, 0 against.
Okay, and then just move for approval.
Move for approval.
Okay, got Councilmember Porterfield moving for approval on RS 2021-1026, properly seconded. Councilmember O'Connell, you recognized on the resolution.
Thank you, Mr. President. Just like to get a summary of what this is doing in effect and also understand whether this is a change from the way we do auction services currently. Thank you.
All right, do you want this one? Or Councilmember Porterfield, or I can go to our director, Ms. Zeitlin.
Ms. Zeitlin may have a better answer, or Mayor Joe Wiggins may have a great answer for us as well.
Let me start with Ms. Zeitlin, or I'll refer to Ms. Wiggins. Or no one.
I'm happy to.
Or the Tennessean reporter.
Anyone except for me, Vice Mayor.
Just somebody over there.
So this is, Metro will be joining basically a nationwide cooperative purchasing master agreement to change providers from eBid to GovDeals. And basically GovDeals, I think, is a much larger platform. It would give Metro access to many, many more bidders. I think GovDeals has 3.8 million bidders. Not sure how many eBid has. But this is kind of a more large-scale platform than is currently being used. And I believe the current system is at end of life. Is that correct?
All right, Councilmember O'Connell.
That is satisfying. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Councilmember. Any other questions about this particular resolution? All right, seeing none, we're ready to vote. All those in favor of RS 2021-1026 for passage, say aye. Opposed, no. Resolution passes. We are now on item number 51, RS 2021-1030 by Councilmembers Nash and Allen. Resolution approving a solid waste regional plan for Davidson County, Tennessee. Councilmember Nash, you are recognized.
Public Works recommended a 3-meeting deferral, 11 favors, 0 against.
All right, Councilmember Porterfield, you're recognized on RS 2021-1030.
Budget and Finance also recommended a 3-meeting deferral, 9 in favor, 0 against.
All right, Councilmember Nash, I'm coming back to you for a motion to defer. Councilmember Nash, y'all still looking at it? He needs to move to defer for 3 meetings.
Move to defer.
There you go. All right, so there's a
3
motion.
meetings.
There's a motion to defer 3 meetings, properly seconded. Any discussion on the motion to defer? Seeing none, all those in favor of the motion say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. RS 2021-1030 is deferred 3 meetings. Okay. We're now on RS 2021-1035. It's item number 56. This is by Allen, Welsh, Johnston, and others. Resolution to encourage alternatives to evictions as federal funding is made available for rent relief for tenants whose incomes have been affected by the COVID-19 pandemic. Councilmember Allen, you are recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. Committee reports.
Rules, I've got Councilmember Johnston.
We voted 9 in favor, 0 against.
All right. Councilmember Allen, you're recognized.
Thank you. I'd like to move approval with a brief explanation.
All right. So Councilmember Allen has moved approval, properly seconded. Back to you.
Thank you. This is just a resolution, just encouraging the council members and anyone else who has their hands in this area to work as hard as we can to ensure that the federal money that's available to us through the ERA 1 and 2 gets to the people who need it while they're still in their homes and before they get evicted. We had the CDC extend the moratorium for another month, so that's bought us additional time. And I want to thank all the co-sponsors that signed on to this. The Metro Action Commission came and spoke to the Affordable Housing Committee and gave us more information on how they're getting that funding out there. But certainly, they need as many volunteers and boots on the ground expanding and making their efforts reach people in time. So I would just encourage the council members to work with Metro Action Commission to get that information out. And Councilmember Suara, if I can get your attention, you mentioned during the Affordable Housing Committee that there were 4 sort of quadrants or 4 council members who were 5 who were working with the Metro Action Commission to have community meetings to make people aware of that. If you wouldn't mind saying who those 4 people are and if council members will work with those other council members who are having those events, just to ensure that anyone who may need this is aware of it through our newsletters or our neighborhood listservs or any way we can communicate with people.
Councilmember Suara, and if I could get you to pick up the microphone, you're recognized.
Thank you, Councilmember Allen. And basically, the idea is that we need to get the information out and to make sure that our constituent knows the money is there. And so the suggestion is, I think it's Councilmember Anderson that suggested that instead of 40 council members reaching out to Metro Action Commission and trying to set up a meeting, why don't we organize it in quadrants and make sure that there is a contact for each area? And so Councilmember Evans is the 5 council members, Councilmember Evans, Councilmember Taylor, Councilmember Anderson, Councilmember Benedict, and Councilmember Sepulveda. So Sepulveda will be southeast, Benedict will be east, Anderson will be west, Taylor is north, Evans is everything else.
She must not have been at the meeting when that was held.
And I believe that Mark already has some dates set up, but they're working with the 5. And so if you all would just contact them. And one of the reports that I had sent to all of you has the need by zip code, the applications that they've received so far. And so we can actually use that to plan what area we need to concentrate in. So whatever we all can do to get the money out and make sure we spend it, I think will be much appreciated. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Councilmember Suara. Councilmember Allen?
So thank you. Just, we can prevent people from falling off the eviction cliff if we just communicate well. So with that, I'll renew my motion for approval. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Councilmember Parker, you're recognized.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. I just want to thank Councilmember Allen for highlighting this program. It's really the best possible scenario for folks, landlords and tenants who've fallen behind a little bit or a lot in the last year. And I just wanted to, a few people have reached out very early on in the pandemic. We passed a resolution encouraging the courts to impose some kind of eviction moratorium. Both the judicial district and the state Supreme Court did end up doing some form of those, and then we had the CDC moratorium. We, as a legislative body, have been asked this several times by people, do not have the authority or the legal ability to impose an eviction moratorium in Davidson County. So I just wanted to make that clear. I've worked with both council staff and some outside legal resources to explore if that was any kind of possibility, and unfortunately it is not. So sort of encouraging folks to utilize this program is kind of the best option that we have as a legislative body. So thanks again to all the council members that have been working so hard on this, and to MAC for all the improvements they've made to the process. So Thank you, Vice Mayor.
All right. Thank you, Councilmember Parker. Councilmember Hurt.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. I too want to stand and thank the efforts that have been made in this. It concerns me, however, because I know that I have reached out to Metro Action dealing with some constituents who they have been trying to get in contact with. And if you look at the numbers, that they've had quite a few applications, but they have made attempts to get to people. And there are many of them who may have a cell phone working today, but it may not be working tomorrow, and they can't contact them. And it really seems like there's some very strong restrictions on Metro Action on the things that they can and cannot do, which is creating a challenge for them to be able to spend the money or give the money freely as was done with United Way. So I just want people to know and understand that Metro Action is working as diligently as they possibly can under the restrictions that they have been given. And I would hope that the colleagues would also encourage people, because they asked me to write a letter in support of someone who I knew personally, which would vouch for them to be able to get their monies when they weren't able to contact them. So if that is possible, that people can step up and vouch for others, I would encourage them to do so. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Councilmember. Councilmember Young, you're recognized.
Good.
Councilmember Young is good. All right, that clears the queue. We are now on RS 2021-1035 for passage. Again, Councilmember Allen made the motion, properly seconded. All those in favor of the resolution, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Resolution passes. All right, I believe that takes care of everything on the consent agenda and resolutions. We are now on bills on introduction and first reading. Does any bills need to be considered separately? Councilmember Van Rees, I think you may have one. Okay, Councilmember Van Rees.
Can I get assistance on the item number?
It is item number 77, BL 2021-810.
Item 64.
Oh, there's another one too?
Yeah.
Okay, so we're going to pull item number 77, BL 2021-810 will come back to you. And then there's one more, it's BL 2021-797, item number 64. 64 by Councilmember Withers, RS BL 2021-797 is being pulled. Anything else that needs to be pulled? Councilmember Sepulveda, you're recognized.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. I just had a point of order. I thought that number 58 had been pulled from consent.
I didn't hear that. That wasn't one of the ones that I had heard, but.
All right, so the Councilmember Sepulveda has asked, Councilmember Hurt, this was your resolution, RS 2021-1037. We did not have that one pulled from the consent agenda. Did you pull it? Okay. We can go, it's already passed, we can go back, but yeah, we didn't have it listed as being pulled. Okay. All right, so we are on bills on introduction and first reading. If there's no objection, we will take every other matter except for item number 64 and item number 77 completely together. Is there a motion to adopt all bills on introduction and first reading with the exception of those two? Got a motion properly second. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of all items on bills on introduction, first reading, passing first reading, except for those two that were listed, say aye. Opposed, no. Okay, bills, items on introduction, first reading, pass. Clear my board. Interesting. Okay, so now we have to go back and take item number 64. BL 2021-797 by Councilmember Withers. It's an ordinance amending Section 17.12.070 of the Metropolitan Code to amend the requirements of the residential floor area ratio bonus in mixed use. Councilmember Withers, you are recognized.
Thank you so much, Mr. Vice Mayor. What I would like to request for this bill is to pass it on first reading today, and then to defer the council public hearing to the first meeting in October. So I'd like that to be my motion, and then I'll have a brief comment about that.
Okay, so the Councilmember Withers would like for the council to approve BL 2021-797 tonight on first reading, and then to defer the public hearing on this measure to the first meeting in October. Okay, that's the motion. It was properly seconded. Back to you for an explanation.
Thank you so much, Mr. Vice Mayor. This ordinance pertains to something that's called a residential floor area bonus that traditionally had been available in mixed-use districts. There's a complicated reason why that has not been honored for a little while. But this is an attempt to sort of reintroduce that floor area bonus in mixed-use districts that we had previously allowed, but also to look, while we're talking about it again, to see about some ways of making it better. It is a pro-housing legislation that gives you a little bit additional floor area as long as it is housing. Looking at getting some ideas from planning staff as well as from the builder community, the affordable housing community, and then we'll come to the Planning Commission and hopefully have a good discussion there and bring something back from the Planning Commission for the council to consider as a whole. Do want to encourage folks to read it, and again, that's BL 2021-797. So really this pertains to mixed-use intensive districts, but really is geared toward, other than that, toward the urban zoning overlay district. So for council members whose districts includes the urban zoning overlay district, please read it. Reach out to, I think, Matthew, if you have any questions about it or interest in that. Again, it would be within the UZO district. It'd be mixed-use districts as well as OR or office residential and core frame would be the only districts that are considered for this. I'm going to begin doing outreach to some of the professional organizations such as NIAP. I hope also to work with Urban Land Institute. Any other organizations, if you have suggestions, questions, I'd love to talk to you about it and get your thoughts on it and get before those groups. Obviously would welcome council members to attend those as well. Just wanted to make folks aware, but this is something we used to do, kind of got pulled back for a while, and want to reintroduce this pro-housing legislation. This also is a recommendation of the Affordable Housing Task Force, so appreciate the support of the affordable housing community and furthering these discussions. But with that, I'll renew my motion to approve today and to hold the Metro Council public hearing at the first meeting in October.
Okay, you've heard the motion. It was properly seconded. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, we're ready to vote. All those in favor of the motion say aye. Opposed, no. Motion is adopted. BL 2021-797 passes on first reading and is then deferred to the first meeting in October for its public hearing. Okay, and then Councilmember Van Rees, we are now ready for is item number 77. It's BL 2021-810. Councilmember Van Rees is the sponsor. Ordinance amendment Title 17 by change from RS10 to SP zoning for properties located at 301 Ben Allen Road and Ben Allen Road unnumbered to permit 245 multi-family residential units. Councilmember Van Rees, you are recognized.
Yes, I'd like to pass this on first reading with the suspension of the rules.
Okay, so it's my understanding, it's 2021-810. So Councilmember Van Rees, it's my understanding what you want to do is pass it on first reading and then have your public hearing the first meeting in September, is that right?
That is correct.
Okay, but because it's an SP, you have to suspend the rules to get it before the body to do that.
Yes, sir, because it will not appear at the Planning Commission until August 26th.
Right, okay. So Councilmember Johnston, did this one come before you all?
It did, and we had no objection.
Okay, thank you. All right, so Councilmember Van Rees is moving to suspend the rules to get this matter before us tonight, to get it through first reading and then get it in the proper place in September. Is there any objection to suspension of the rules? Seeing none, rules are suspended. You're on your bill.
Thank you very much, colleagues. I appreciate this special consideration because the Planning Commission only meets once in July and once in August. The timing was getting a little wonky. These units are destined for affordable and workforce, and we want to make sure that we keep it on track. And so that's the reason, and I appreciate your support. Pass on first and see this again in public hearing in September.
Okay, so Councilmember Van Rees has moved her bill for passage on first, and then to be heard at the public hearing on the first meeting in September. You've heard the motion, properly seconded. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of the motion say aye. Opposed, no. Motion is adopted. Thank you, Councilmember Van Rees. Okay, that takes care of all bills on first reading. We are now on bills on second reading, okay, which is on page 32 of my calendar. And we have 4 bills that are on the second reading consent agenda. It's on page 35 of my calendar. It's the last 4 bills on second reading. It's BL 2021-782. That's item number 100. BL 2021-782, 783, 785, and 786. All 4 of those bills are on the consent agenda for second reading. Does any of those things need to be bumped? Again, 782, 783, 785, and 786. Go ahead and read those bills. BL 2021-782 by Toombs, Taylor, Sledge, Hurd, and others. Ordinance repealing Section 2.56.135 of the Metropolitan Code pertaining to the assessment and collection of probation supervision fees. BL 2021-783 by Murphy, O'Connell, Cash, and Porterfield. Ordinance to amend Section 13.26.020 of the Metropolitan Code of Laws to require a report from the Metropolitan Historical Commission when a public building named after a person is renamed, demolished, or sold. BL 2021-785 by Rosenberg, an ordinance to amend GIS system street and alley centerline layout for the Metropolitan government by renaming Tulip Tree Court as Tulip Tree Court and renaming Tulip Tree Lane as Tulip Tree Lane south of Poplar Creek Trace. And BL 2021-786 by Evans, Murphy, and Nash. It's an ordinance to authorize the Metropolitan government to accept new sanitary sewer and water main, sanitary sewer manholes, fire hydrant assemblies, and easements for property located at 4225 Central Pike, also known as New Hope Village. Those are the 4 bills on second reading consent. Anything needs to be bumped off? All right, seeing none, I need some committee reports to get these through. Budget and Finance, Councilmember Porterfield, you've got 782.
Budget and Finance voted for approval, 9 in favor, 0 against.
All right, thank you. Planning and Zoning, Councilmember Murphy.
Thank you. Planning and Zoning voted 15 in favor, 0 against on 2021-783, 785, and 786.
All right.
With all reports in, I'd like to move the consent
Wait a
agenda.
minute, I got a couple more reports to do. You jumped the gun. But I'll come back to you if you really want to do it. All right, Councilmember Nash, Public Works.
Public Works took up 785 and 786 and recommended approval, 11 in favor, 0 against.
All right, thank you. Councilmember O'Connell, Traffic and Parking.
Thank you, Mr. President. We had BL 2021-785. The sponsor did not consider the suggestion of changing a space to a hyphen friendly. We voted 3 in favor, 0 against to approve the bill.
All right, thank you. And Councilmember O'Connell, are you okay if I go back to Councilmember Murphy and let her move this?
She does seem eager. I have no objection.
All right, Councilmember Murphy, Councilmember O'Connell has yielded the floor to you, so you can pass the motion or suggest the motion to pass these bills on second reading consent.
I just didn't want him to have more TV time,
I
and so
understand.
with that, I'd like to move the consent agenda.
All right, so Councilmember Murphy has moved the consent agenda. Councilmember O'Connell seconds it. Any discussion on the consent agenda on second reading? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Opposed, no. Second reading consent agenda passes. Okay, we go back to the beginning on second reading. These are bills on second reading. It's on page 32. It's item number 96, BL 2019-7 by Councilmember O'Connell. This is an ordinance to amend section 6.28.030 in the Metropolitan Code of Laws regarding the existence of a short-term rental property owner-occupied in a two-family zoning district. Councilmember O'Connell, you are recognized.
Thank you, Mr. President. Committee reports, please.
Okay, so I believe, I see the committees down here, but this has to be deferred by rule because it just jumped on the calendar, because it had been off for so long.
That's
So
right.
it's an automatic deferral.
So I wasn't sure if we needed the committee deferral, but that was what was going to happen
it's
anyway. So procedurally, I will follow your lead here.
All right, so it's an automatic deferral by rule. It'll show up at the next meeting, all right? Items number 97 and 98 are by Councilmember Rosenberg. Councilmember Mendez has to excuse himself on both these, or abstain on both these measures. Councilmember Rosenberg will take these things together. This is 2021-654, ordinance to amend Title 17 by changing RM2 to RS40. Property located at 6,000 River Valley Drive, southeast corner of River Valley Drive and Newsom Station Road, located within a planned unit development overlay. And then item number 98, BL 2021-655 by Councilmember Rosenberg, ordinance to amend Title 17 by canceling a portion of the Riverwalk Plan Unit Development District located at 6,000 River Valley Drive at the southeast corner of River Valley Drive and Newsom Station Road is 58.48 acres. Councilmember Rosenberg, you're recognized on your two bills.
Thank you, Mr. President. Committee reports, please.
Planning and Zoning, Councilmember Murphy, you're recognized.
Thank you. I haven't quite memorized the captions yet, so we're going to defer this one more meeting on both of them, 15 in favor, 0 against.
All right, back to you, Councilmember Rosenberg.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move Councilman Mendez excuse himself, and we defer one meeting, please.
So, Councilmember Mendez, you're going to have to leave the room during this excuse. All right, so we're going to defer this one more meeting. Is that what we've got for both these measures? The motion is to defer both measures one meeting, properly seconded. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Opposed, no. The motion to defer a meeting passes both for 654 and 655. Councilmember Mendez abstaining. We're on item number 99, BL 2021-720 by Councilmember Stiles, an ordinance to amend section 16.24.330 of the Metropolitan Code to require homeowners association signs. Councilmember Stiles, you're recognized. Okay, so I can't, yeah, she has to withdraw. And that's the last bill on second reading. So we are on item number 99, BL 2021-720 by Councilmember Stiles, ordinance to amend section 16.24.330 of the Metropolitan Code to require homeowners association signs. Councilmember Stiles, you're recognized.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. I actually want to withdraw this bill.
Okay, so the bill is withdrawn.
Thank
Okay.
you.
All right. We are now on, we have one more, right? It's item number 103, which is BL 2021-786. I'd missed that one. Evans, Murphy, and Nash. I don't have it. Do I have it on consent? Wait a minute. Why did I miss that one? I'm sorry. I just didn't write a C down by it. Okay, so 780. So item number 103, BL 2021-786. Was also on consent, so that clears the second reading. Okay, so we're now on bills on third reading. We have a third reading consent agenda. Okay. I know, that's what I was going to check. Okay. All right, so these are the items on the consent agenda for third reading. Item number 105, 2021-727 is on consent. 743 is on consent, 753 is on consent, 754 on consent, 755 on consent, 756, 757, 758, 759, 760, 761, 762, and 781. Everything is on consent except for the first bill, except for 725. Okay, anything else needs to be taken off of that? Okay, so here they go. Item number 105, BL 2021-727, Roberts, Toombs, Murphy, and Nash. Ordinance declaring surplus and approving the disposition of parcel of real property known as Zero American Road. 106, O'Connell, Toombs, and Murphy, BL 2021-743. Ordinance approving a purchase and sale agreement between the Metropolitan Government and Piedmont Natural Gas for parcel property improvements located at 800 2nd Avenue North. 2021-753 by Rutherford, an ordinance amending Chapter 2.40 of the Metropolitan Code to transfer the Employee Safety Program from the Department of Law to the Department of Human Resources. BL 2021-754, Roberts, Murphy, Nash, and O'Connell, ordinance to amend the GIS Simpson Street and alley center line layer for the Metropolitan Government by abandoning a portion of Ohio Avenue right-of-way and easement. BL 2021-755, Parker, Murphy, and Nash, an ordinance authorizing the Metropolitan Government of Nashville and Davidson County to abandon existing drainage easements rights for property located at 338 East Trinity Lane. BL 2021-756, Roberts, Murphy, and Nash, ordinance authorizing the Metropolitan Government to abandon a portion of easement rights located at 5649 O'Brien Avenue, unnumbered, and 5806 and 5808 Charlotte Pike, formerly alley number 1520. Item number 111, BL 2021-757, Benedict, Murphy, and Nash, ordinance authorizing the Metropolitan Government to negotiate and accept a permanent easement for the Lytton Avenue Stormwater Improvement Project for property located at 1305 Lytton Avenue. BL 2021-758, Benedict, Murphy, and Nash, ordinance authorizing the Metropolitan Government to negotiate and accept a permanent easement for the McGavick Pipe Stormwater Improvement Projects for 4 properties located at 1107, 1109, 1111 McGavick Pike, and 3104 Gallatin Pike. BL 2021-759, Benedict, Murphy, and Nash, ordinance authorizing the Metropolitan Government to negotiate and accept permanent easements for the Scott Avenue Stormwater Improvement Project for 2 properties located at 2926 and 2928A Scott Avenue. BL 2021-760, Lee, Murphy, and Nash, ordinance authorizing the Metropolitan Government of Nashville and Davidson County ban existing public sanitary sewer force mains and easements to accept new sanitary sewer force main and easements for 3 properties located at 4309, 4331, and 4335 Maxwell Road, also known as Heritage Landing Force Main Relocation. Hager, Murphy, and Nash on item 115, BL 2021-761. Ordinance authorizing the Metropolitan Government to accept new public sanitary sewer and water main, sanitary sewer manholes, fire hydrant assemblies, and easements. Property located at 1011 Lady Nashville Drive, also known as Heritage Hills Apartments. BL 2021-762. Rutherford, Murphy, and Nash. Ordinance authorizing the Metropolitan Government to accept new sanitary sewer and water mains, sanitary sewer manholes, fire hydrant assemblies, and easements for 2 properties located at 6944 Nolensville Pike and 7236 Old Burkett Road, also known as Old Burkett Road Mixed-Use Development. And the last one is BL 2021-781. That's item number 117 by Toombs and Henderson, an ordinance amending Title III of the Metropolitan Code relative to medical care benefits for pensioners. Those are all the bills on the consent calendar for 3rd reading. The only one that was not was the first one, which was BL 2021-725, which was item number 104. Anything need to be bumped off 3rd reading consent? All right, Councilmember Roberts, it's your birthday. I need a motion to approve all bills on 3rd reading. Councilmember Roberts approved all bills on 3rd reading. I probably heard a proper second. Any discussion on all items on the consent calendar on 3rd reading? Seeing none. All those in favor of the motion say aye. Opposed, no. All bills on 3rd reading pass. On the consent agenda, we have one last bill. It's BL 2021-725 by Councilmember Sawara, Wells, Stiles, Taylor, and Gamble. An ordinance to amend Section 2.149.040 of the Metropolitan Code of Laws regarding the Barnes Fund for Affordable Housing. Councilmember Sawara, you are recognized.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. I'd like to, I think I have an amendment.
There is an amendment on the bill.
There is an amendment, yeah.
Amendment that is proposed to be on the bill.
All right, I'd like to move the amendment.
All right, so BL 2021-725, Councilmember Sawara has moved an amendment that was brought by Councilmember O'Connell. Councilmember O'Connell, this is your amendment on 725. Councilmember O'Connell, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. President. I offer this, I believe, as a friendly amendment. I'll certainly invite the sponsor to speak to it otherwise if I'm incorrect about that. But I think after we got through the discussion, I was looking at a way that this might allow, obviously, to establish council priorities, but eventually defer the ultimate decisions back to the commission. I think my general preference is that as we have structured Metro to have power in the boards and commissions, we certainly can step in and establish priorities, but more often than not, it's better for the rulemaking and policymaking to be done in those commissions. I think similarly, without a clear statement of unequivocal support for the overall legislative approach, I wanted to make sure that we had anything that could amount to a compromise, so that is the spirit in which I offer this amendment.
Okay, thank you, Councilmember O'Connell. Councilmember Suara, back to you.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. I thank Councilmember O'Connell for the amendments. And just to let everyone know, I did meet with the Housing Fund Commission and explain the intent behind the bill to them. And everyone did agree that we do need to do capacity building. We do need to find ways to have more entries into the affordable housing development and to make sure that we encourage small organizations to learn how to do this. And this is the time to do this. This is the time that we have the money, and we need to build capacity so that in 5 years' time, we have more people producing housing. And so the spirit of setting aside that $25,000 for capacity building for small businesses, the board is, or the commission is in favor of it. They also like the idea that we are putting the amendment that kind of put a sunset of about 3 years on it to try it out and to see how it goes. So but I'm going to ask all of you to please support the amendments and the bill as a whole. We need to keep looking at different ways to increase affordable housing, but we cannot do that without having increase in the number of players that are able to produce affordable housing. And that's part of what this does. It also allows minority and small businesses to be able to be a part of the growth in our city. So thanks. With that, I move approval of the amendment and the amendment.
Okay, so Councilmember Suara has moved approval of Councilmember O'Connell's amendment. Properly seconded. Councilmember Mendez, you're recognized.
Thanks. I appreciate my colleagues' work on this. Because it got approved by the Affordable Housing Committee last meeting, the amendment didn't go through any committee. And while I definitely appreciate their explanation, I sort of got lost a little bit in there about how it all fits together. And maybe Ms. Eitland can walk us through where we were after the last meeting and what the amendment does, because I didn't quite follow. Sorry about that.
And I think it has to, I think we have to suspend the rules to get it there. That's what we were looking at. That's what we were just talking about. So let's see if we can get it on, and then we can go back to trying to explain where everything is. So I'm going to go to Councilmember O'Connell because it's your amendment, so we can see if we can get it suspended. Okay, Councilmember O'Connell.
Thank you, Mr. President. Move to suspend the rules.
All right. So let me tell you where everything is. Councilmember Suara moved to approve Councilmember O'Connell's amendment, and because it's on third reading, it has to be, the rules have to be suspended to get it considered. Okay. Councilmember Johnston, did this come before you?
It did not.
Okay. So Councilmember O'Connell has moved to suspend the rules to get this at least before the body so it could be considered. Is there objection to suspension of the rules to get this amendment before this body? Seeing none, rules are suspended. Now, Councilor Mendez has asked for an update on where all this stuff is. I'm going to go to Director Zeitlin.
So the underlying bill would require a set-aside of at least 20% of Barnes Fund grants for small nonprofit organizations. Small nonprofit organizations is defined as nonprofit organizations with an annual operating budget of no more than $4 million and a housing budget of no more than $1 million. The amendment would make it so that this criteria of the 20% set aside would be required during fiscal years 22 and 23. but in fiscal year 2024, it would be an aspirational goal. So it would basically sunset after fiscal year 2023.
Councilmember Mendez, does that help you?
Yeah, thanks, appreciate it.
Okay. All right. So just for purpose of making sure we're all clear, so this is a bill on third reading. It's Bill 2021-725 by Councilmember Suara. Councilmember Suara moved Councilmember O'Connell's bill. It is now properly before us because the rules have been suspended. So we are on an amendment brought by Councilmember O'Connell. All right, discussion on the amendment. That's where we are. All right, seeing none, let's take a vote. All those in favor of the amendment that was moved by Councilmember Suara, it's Councilmember O'Connell's amendment. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, no. Okay, so Councilmember O'Connell's amendment is now on Councilmember Suara's bill. Councilmember Suara, I'm back to you. Bill 2021-725 as amended.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. I'd like to move the bill as amended.
All right, so Councilmember Suara has moved BL 2021-725 as amended, properly seconded. Discussion on the bill. Councilor Mendez, your button is still pushed. Do you want to be spoken to? Do you want to speak on this one? Okay. Councilmember O'Connell, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. President. I look at the collaborative effort here, and I think it's important to where we are in the process. I will say I still have a few concerns. I have concerns that we still don't, from commission staff, have a clear statement, right? We don't walk in here tonight with a letter of support for the bill, even as amended. The commission as a whole, I don't believe, took a vote on this, and I think, for years we've had Councilmember Sledge as a council designee to this commission, and if it's possible he will surprise me tonight by expressing support for this. But I think that is one of the reasons the amendment is so important, is that ultimately I think we want to get into a position where it's clear everybody has the same interest here. We want as many organizations as possible building affordable housing and having the access and capacity to build affordable housing. We also want affordable housing to be built as quickly as possible. So we need to find the best path to those goals. I think the only way to do that is ultimately with everybody moving in the same direction. I still do have some concerns that we didn't quite get to consensus on this. That said, with a sunset, I feel a little bit better about where we are, but I still think it's worth hearing from staff or the commission or Councilmember Sledge some level of perspective on this before we go to a vote. I don't know if we'll have time for that. We may have to vote tonight and just see where we are. Thank you.
Councilmember Sledge, you're recognized.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. My comments are similar to what we mentioned last time we took this bill up. We've worked a lot over the last several years in the commission to try to make sure that these dollars are as flexible as possible, because we have encountered several occasions where, quite frankly, just in learning about how to build affordable housing, how to encourage nonprofits to build affordable housing, how to help build capacity for those nonprofits, that we need to ensure that these funds are not only available, but they're available at the right time. And we've had instances where we have missed out on opportunities that could have resulted in affordable housing. There are times where there have been many times where we've had lots of applicants. Every time we have a funding round, we have more applicants than we have money, and usually by multiples, 2 to 3 times as many. So I have the same concerns as I did previously. It gives me pause that we are taking away some of the flexibility that I think the commission has worked hard to accomplish. I struggle a little bit with the mechanics of it, and I know the sponsors worked to try to alleviate those, but at the same time, I'm not sure that it actually has done that. I will say I have played phone tag with the administration housing folks to try to get a sense of where they are. I got a sense, I was not able to attend the last commission meeting, but I've gotten a sense from commissioners in the past too that there's not really a consensus on the commission, which is why you don't see, I think, a statement of support or denial on this. So members, I would just ask you to consider that as we go through, as Councilmember O'Connell said, a pretty pivotal time, and when we need to build a lot of units, a lot of affordable units throughout our city, and I applaud the members tonight who had zoning bills that are working toward that aim. I would just caution folks that if we do put designations and restrictions on certain parts of the funds, that's what they are. They're restrictions, and they do impact the flexibility of these funds. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember. Councilmember Suarez, you're recognized.
Thank you. I do want to say that I went before the Housing Commission and I answered all their questions. And at the end of the day, if you do watch the video, they were in support. They did not take an official vote, but the chair, Chris, told me, we're okay, let's go on. I think what we have to understand is this, and I hope that I have your support, is that the Housing Commission agreed that they've been talking about capacity building for a long time, but they never got to do it. Some of our colleagues on the council have said that even last term it was discussed, but it was never done. And so the problem is that if we keep talking about we want to do it, and we never do it, it never gets done. And so my take is that last year we had 10 million for affordable housing. This year we are 30 million. If there's ever a time to talk about capacity building, it is now. Otherwise, we just push it forward again. In 5 years, we talk about we still don't have it. And so this is the time to do it. So this bill is supposed to do a number of things. The capacity building is a part of it. Allowing small companies into entry is another part of it. When you look at the people that we fund, it's the same companies. They're doing great work, but they cannot do all of it. We need churches that want to be in affordable housing. We need small organizations. We have small lots that we need to develop. This allows a lot of people to get in there. As far as the staffing is concerned, the Housing Commission itself also agreed that it's not just about the money. They're also committed to also making sure these organizations have the help that they need, the mentorship, so that we're not just giving them money and leaving them alone. So the commission is committed to that. They want to do that. I think everybody's reaction or excitation is about funding. And I think that now that we have the funding, we should do it. I will also say someone suggested a while back that maybe we should do it as a resolution, not to stop the board's action or something like that. My response to that is this. If we're talking about equity, we're talking about change. You all know resolution is not binding. You all told me that with the Oracle deal. And so board change, council change. If we want to do this, it's something else to have to do it because we want to. It's something else to do it because we have to. And I think this is the point where we cannot just keep talking about it. We just have to do it. And we have more money this year than we've ever had. So with that, I'm not deferring. I want to just go ahead with it. I think it's a solution. It's a way to help. And I ask for your support. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Councilmember Suarez. Where we are is we're on BL 2021-725. It's item number 104 as amended. And we are considering it on third reading. All right. So the motion is to approve on third reading that bill as amended. Nobody else in the queue. We are ready to vote. Okay. We are on BL 2021-725 as amended for passage on third reading. All those in favor of the bill say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Okay, so because it's on third reading, I think we have to go on the board. Madam Clerk, can you get the machine ready? Got to have 21 votes to pass. You ready? Yes. All right, so Madam Clerk, open up the machines. You are voting on BL 2021-725 as amended for passage on third reading. All right, so something weird happened according to the clerk, so we're going to back up and try again. All right. Madam Clerk, you tell me when you're ready. Okay, so Madam Clerk, open up the machines. We're voting on BL 2021-725 as amended on third reading. So right now, the vote is 0 to 0 to 0. Are we doing it again? Okay, the machine should be open now. Okay. All votes in? Okay, Madam Clerk, close the machines, take the vote. Uh, 24 yeses, no, 9 noes, 1 abstention, needed 21 votes, passes on third reading. Okay. Before that's the last bill, we had 2 more things I needed to mention. Councilmember Van Rees, you recognized, for what reason?
Yes, I just wanted to make sure and invite everyone in this room to an incredible event this coming Saturday at Amqui Station. It's a fundraiser for Discover Madison. The McCrary Sisters with band, free concert. It's a family event. Bring your lawn chair. Food trucks at 4:30. Concerts at 5. The McCrary Sisters with full band at Amqui Station. That is behind the Madison Library. If you've not been there, it's a good opportunity to see what's happening with Madison Station Boulevard and the Public Works investment there as well. And I hope that you can join me this Saturday. Thanks.
All right, thank you, Councilmember Van Rees. Last point is keep Rosie in your thoughts and prayers, okay? Hopefully everything's going to be good. And Councilmember Glover, okay? With that, entertain a motion to adjourn. Properly seconded. All those in favor say aye. Those no. You adopt.
And so the council has concluded about a 3-hour business meeting tonight with a 41-page agenda that was moving fairly quickly. Perhaps the most impactful piece of legislation the council approved tonight, and did this on the consent calendar. So with unanimous consent, they approved Bill 2021-781 on third reading. It would require a group Medicare Advantage plan as the only option for Metro retirees' medical benefits, and when a pensioner or their dependents are Medicare eligible. That change is expected to save Metro $1.1 billion over a good number of years, and also save Metro approximately $17 million in its operating budget this coming year. That has been a problem not only Metro faces, but a number of cities face across the country. Just before the council concluded, the ordinance also was approved tonight to allow 20% of the Barnes Fund monies that are put out each year, that at least for the next 2 years, to let that be 20% of those go to small affordable housing firms that are set aside, those who have an operating budget of less than $4 million and a housing budget of no more than $1 million. This amendment was put on at the last minute. There was a lot of debate about it. Some council members still don't feel particularly comfortable with it, but they voted 24-9 to 1 to pass it tonight. So they'll try that for 2 years, along with the committee that actually makes the recommendations. It'll be an aspirational goal after that, and we'll see what happens. The council also approved a bill tonight that allows to move ahead on a $2.3 million grant from the Tennessee Emergency Management Agency. This will reimburse some of the costs involved for the flooding, the tornadoes, the straight line winds, and things that happened way back in March of 2020. The city previously received about $7.1 million in disaster funds. This brings the account now to bad weather to $7.1 million. Metro will have to put some money of its own, about $1 million in that for local monies. Council also deferred for 3 meetings this new solid waste plan for the city. The plan will have to be approved under state law, but the council's concerned with some things in there that over time are going to cost quite a bit of money. So they want to have some special joint committee meetings of both the Budget and Finance and the Public Works Committee, and perhaps others, to look at that over the next couple of months to see what they do before they make a decision one way or the other. Council also approved a resolution tonight encouraging alternatives to evictions as federal money is made available for rent relief for tenants. It's been a problem with some federal red tape. Also, it's been a problem for the Metro Action Commission to get through the number of people that have a backlog behind on their rent because of COVID-19, and they want to try to see if they can't take care of that. Council also on third reading approved a bill that would remove the supervision fees for probation services provided by the General Sessions Court. This is part of several efforts, including at the last meeting, the council approved 2 other resolutions that got rid of some indigent fees, defense fee, and also a courthouse security litigation tax. All these were recommended to be getting rid of by a study that was done a couple of years ago, because many of the people that were supposed to be paying it have a financial burden on them that they can't pay the fees. They're usually indigent in most cases, so they don't have the ability to pay the fees that are now being repealed by Metro. Council also put off what could have been a lengthy discussion tonight about a months-long vacant seat on the Metro Fair Board. Appointment's been controversial because the council wants more diversity on that particular board. They want a Hispanic member. Mayor Cooper was not able to find one, and has ran out of time in order to make his appointment, so I went to Vice Mayor Jim Shulman. He wants to appoint an African-American on there. He's had a previous one that was disapproved by the council, so it's put off for 2 weeks to see if they can come up with some way to make all this work and see what happens when the council meets again in 2 weeks. We'll be here at that time to provide live coverage on July 20th for the next council meeting. So until then, I'm Pat Nolan, and good night from the council chambers. Tonight's Metro Council meeting has been a public affairs presentation to the Metro Nashville Network.
This has been a service of the Metro Nashville Network. If you would like to see this presentation again, or for more information about this and other programs, visit nashville.gov.